Alrighty, welcome everybody back to week 3 of the Legends Franchise Association. Back here with Summit versus Syndicate, and today we're looking to we're not looking towards it, but Summit's definitely looking towards to tie up the standings right now between Syndicate for the good old-fashioned 1-2, and Syndicate's definitely looking to not lag behind and hoping to make it an even 2-2 for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of a bounce back spot for Syndicate. They did lose last week, but they are in a little bit of a predicament. Summit, having been 0-2, are going to try to capitalize on the fact that Jake, their kind of star carry jungler, is going to be out this week. It's one of the two subs that we have. We have the pit coming in for Jake in the jungle. Meanwhile, Comet Cruiser coming in for Summit, replacing Ren and the ADC. But losing Jake is really the big talking point of this game, as that is a massive loss. They have been kind of the hyper carry. They've been the player that the whole team plays around in the I think four series or four maps, five maps that they've played, and they've constantly done well. Even when they lost, they performed very well as well. So losing that is a little bit scary. Baritol over on Summit has been struggling a little bit, but who knows? Syndicate with a fill-in jungler, this might be a moment for Baritol to really step up and shine in that jungle role on Summit, and maybe they can put it together. They're 0-2. They're kind of at the bottom right now. There's only one place to go, but Syndicate are definitely going to want to bounce back, bring it back into more of their favor, and have a much more favorable series count right now.
Yeah, and I mean, we're starting to get to the point where the standings kind of start to align a little
Mhm.
bit, and they could, start to show a little bit of a story of like, how strong these teams might be. And Summits definitely does not want to be on, the winless side for 3 weeks in a row. So they really want to take this win, but Syndicate is really wanting to prove, to themselves, to all their fans that like, they're better than this. And they're really looking to, get ahead and get a win this week to hopefully show that like, hey, there's still some fight left in them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if I don't know if anyone saw, there was a content piece put out. Massive props to the content team, constantly giving us good things to deep dive into. But there was an actual interview with Baritol, again, that jungler from Summit that I just mentioned. Very respectful, had a lot of nice things to say about Syndicate. So they're obviously taking this series very intelligently, knowing that it's going to be a pretty tough challenge and giving them the respect they deserve. But notably, they did say that one of the biggest issues they've been having as a team is the fact that none of them have really played together. So it's taking a little bit for them to kind of come together as a team and really start putting some teamwork together. So now that we're three series in, this is the third one, we really should start seeing some of that coming together. Notably, as we are getting into the pick bans here, the sub for Syndicate, the pit, was within 24 hours. So that does mean they are going to lose a ban. Summit had plenty of ample time, so they did not lose one. So just for reference when that does pop up here. But we are seeing the bans come through. Looks like a couple target bans. We are seeing the Shaco come off the board immediately, and Baritol is
That's odd.
immediately going to be disappointed.
Yeah, being answered by the Karma and Nocturne as well. Nocturne, I would say, kind of like standard for you kind of notice like, hey, do we want to worry about any type of Wombo, maybe an Oriana pick from Stratty, or not from Stratty, from Boogie. Karma, I feel like is a little bit more of a targeted. You don't really see that ban all too often. It's definitely
Yeah.
something you don't want to worry about if someone does end up, being feeling comfort on that pick. And Syndicate so far answering with the Leona as well for their second.
Yeah, and that's not too surprising. Leona has been a pretty heavy ban for this entire split so far. I'm pretty sure they are one of the highest banned champions currently right now in the LFA. So not too surprised to see that come out. We saw Twitch get used to some crazy efficiency in previous series, so not surprised to see that. But I will say, across the board, these are pretty new bans. None of these champions, besides the Leona, are very high pick ban rate. So we have the possibility of maybe seeing some champions that are typically banned out the wazoo and are not really seen all that.
Yeah, and we got the insta lock in for blue side onto the Jinx here. We've been
That's
seeing that her
fair.
presence is really high. She's just one of the strongest, if not the strongest ADC at the moment. Very blindable, good into most situations. There's just no reason not to pick the champion. And I like how Summit banned the Twitch. We saw how strong the Twitch can be
Oh yeah.
previously, so it's going to be answered by the Kog'Maw. We're going to see the Lulu insta pick onto R2 here. I would assume so,
I
because Jinx
probably.
Lulu is still strong. So, I mean, some side could feel bad picking that away from Syndicate, and there's not really any reason for Syndicate, I feel like, not to pick it here. It's a strong
Yeah.
pick with Kog'Maw. It goes the best with Kog'Maw. There's not really much other supports that, you can pick that are just going to be good with this pick. So yeah, there's the Lulu. It's what I
Okay.
would expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, that also denies it being paired with a Jinx, which is a really good, like you said, a really good pick. This is the highest pick rate champion, and it's not close, by the way. Jinx currently has a pick rate of 60%. The next highest is 34. So Jinx is the heavy favorite. um, but we are seeing pretty average draft in terms of what teams are focusing on. We've seen them pretty much everyone go for a high priority picking this bot lane pairing as well as the jungle. So seeing the Jinx, seeing the Jarvan come out, not too surprising, and locking up that, like you said, the really strong pairing of Kog'Maw and Lulu is nothing too out of ordinary for either of these teams yet.
Yeah, and we see the Jarvan come through. Smart pick. You have a Syndicate so far has a very, like, non-mobile bot lane, no gap closers, nothing, anything of that sort. Jarvan very good into that sort of matchup, and then Seraphine also going to be locked up as well. Another really good pick against champions that don't have a lot of mobility. So, I mean, Summit, so far have a very solid, like, engage front to back utility so far. But I mean, with Cog Lulu, I mean, there's a lot of things Syndicate can still do to round their comp around and to also pick a lot of peel to kind of make this Jarvan pick useless. And they're actually going to pick up the Gangplank onto R3 here. Now, that's interesting. That's an interesting pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have to double check. I believe this was picked maybe last week. I don't know if they got a lot of value out of it. However, I believe this is a comfort pick as well. So maybe they're trying to run it back, trying to prove that this pick can really get some value out of it. And to be fair, Gangplank can do some serious damage on the Rift, though notably, it does kind of follow in suit with not having very mobile champions. So that could be a bane for them, especially going up against a Jarvan and a Seraphine, like you said. And we're seeing the bans already. We're going to see a pretty top lane heavy, I'd imagine. Frankly, Baritol has been struggling a little bit, and Jake is not currently available for Syndicate. So I'd imagine we see a lot of focus going up to this top lane, really banning out and taking away as many options as possible.
Yeah, and like you said, Poppy ban. Okay, so Poppy ban
Probably been.
for
Okay.
Summit there for their first ban on the second rotation. But like you said, there's no mobility as well with the game plank pick, and again, that just amplifies Jarvan that much more. Gives him more targets, right? More
Hmm.
valid targets from to go after, which is actually very huge. For like any pick like that, it doesn't just have to be Jarvan. It's for any champion that likes to pick targets, like Nocturne, for example. More targets you have available, the harder it is for the enemy team to find out your battle plan on exactly what you want to do. So Summit feeling a little happy about that, having a lot of just flexibility and their target priority into this game. And Fiddlestick's going to be the follow up with Summit for their last span, and then we're gonna immediately see the Amumu, and I mean, yep, definitely not one of those that you want to jump onto as Jarvan. So
Yeah, it's not great. It's a really good answer. I mean, it really, especially if the Amumu plays a little bit farther back, though you also want that engage. So it's kind of risk reward, but if they find themselves jumping onto that Amumu, they can very easily get heavily punished. and I feel like Jarvan's going to be a big means of them taking fights. So if they lose that early in a fight, that could just be the end of the team fight early.
And Darius just gonna be slammed in for Summit, going up against that Gangplank, I imagine. Um, this is this is
Probably.
this is an interesting matchup because it's technically, a lot of people say Darius favored. Um, there is a way for GP to win this matchup, like level 1, level 2, and level 3. If you're just truly that like gifted on the champion and his mechanics. Lissandra also followed up here, so that is going to be a Seraphine support into the bot side, I imagine, unless it's a
Yeah.
Lissandra support and Seraphine mid. I mean, anything could
Crazy.
happen. I've
Be
seen
crazy.
Lissandra support before, so I mean, it definitely is possible. But I imagine it's going to be Seeker taking that Seraphine into the bot lane with the Jinx here. And now we're just waiting for the mid lane pick for Boogie here, and it's going to be the Swain. I do love that pickup considering the Jarvan and how little mobility you have. However, the problem I kind of do have is the ability for it not to matter that much for what Summit has drafted, right? Like Swain and to Darius. Darius doesn't care about all that much being in the middle of Swain. I mean, his R gives him true damage to bleed. I mean,
Yeah.
he has armor pen into his kit. Jarvan is going to be in the middle of you no matter what, and a lot of the threat is going to be on this Jinx that's going to be hitting you from the back line, and then Lissandra is just going to stay safe, has the sustain, has the burst, and I feel like kind of has the utility for it not to matter all that much, especially into the laning phase. We'll have to see if Boogie can find something with the pit to maybe get an early lead here. So I kind of both love it, but I also kind of hate it because it makes it very obvious what Syndicate wants here, and it really wants Summit to play into them, which Summit did draft around that anyway. So
Yeah.
it could be a pretty good pickup for Syndicate here.
Yeah, my only real worry is the lack of an outright tank. Like I know Amumu is rather tanky, and I know Amumu is tank, but there's really not much to pair with it. Obviously, Swain can be in the ultimate, um, but at the same time, like you said, they're going up against a Jinx who can just absolutely melt people. Darius is also one of those characters that can just play in and around that team fight. It doesn't really matter. So if they get through that Amumu and they don't have the ultimate on hand for the Swain, or even if the Swain's being dealt with by the Darius, it becomes a bit of a tricky team fight. So I am worried a little bit into that, but you never know. I
And they have to kill this cog. They
they
really do.
do. They really do. The cog, yeah. The lack of mobility is the other thing that, because if they have one fight where this Kog'Maw uh, is ill positioned and they get caught out, they can immediately be put on the back foot. And you do not want that, especially if they start getting kills onto Napquan into the pocket of that Jinx. Uh, Jinx can become a real. There's a reason Jinx is the number one pick in the whole split right now. Jinx can become a problem real quick.
Yeah, and biggest thing here that I really see is just like you said, the lack of kind of like guaranteed front line that Syndicate has. They're like they have a lot of glass cannon, right?
Yeah,
With the GP top and the Kog'Maw bot lane, and even kind of with the Swain mid. And Summit has a lot of ability to pick where they want to play through here. But ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go ahead to a break here as we wait for the spectator delay. Don't go anywhere because we'll be back for game one versus Summit and Syndicate. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back
Oh,
to week 3. It'll be a quick pause here. We'll resume in 0 seconds, hopefully, as it sits there at 0.
oh no, no,
Here we go.
no, please.
Give it a second. Now, hold up.
Here, everyone hold, please. Spectate the client.
There we
Okay, we're
go.
good.
Welcome back to week 3 of the LFA. We have Summit on the blue side, Syndicate on to the red side. Summit currently 0-2, Syndicate sitting, not pretty, but pretty compared to Summit at 1-1. Summit looking to get their first win here, this week. See if they can pull it off.
Yeah, and again, pretty standard when it comes to setup here. Notably, no one top side of the bottom side, so a little bit of lost vision for both teams. But it looks like both bot lane pairings are playing a little bit aggressive and showing presence down there in lane, but everyone else just staking out, seeing where their opponents may be lining up. Nothing too crazy to start though. But I do want to bring attention again. There is a missing jungler in terms of the normal player that plays there. That's Jake, one of their hyper carries, is going to be gone for Syndicate. So the jungle matchup is definitely going to be one to watch out as we get into this game. Meanwhile, it's really going to come down early game how these two teams scale and who gets the advantage early. I think it is going to be the closest spot between this Kog'Maw and this Jinx.
Yeah, definitely. And this is definitely a matchup. You see Seeker taking a lot of damage here. You're just finding out how strong Kog'Maw W is. Look at that. Seeker taking below half. Kame even taking a little bit, about 20% of his HP gone. And I was about to say, I mean, both these matchups have the ability to brawl. I mean, Jinx, Seraphine, Kog'Maw, Lulu. I mean, both these are strong. While level 2 going over to Summit's bot lane first. Rip's going to have to walk out of here. Good shield from Knight, but a stun coming out onto Rip. Answering back the bad trade from earlier there. And now we're pretty much about back to even.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think both of these teams are going to want to put a lot of pressure on each other. I mean, we talked about it before, and you had mentioned it specifically. Summit is definitely picked this composition to play into. Oh, a little bit of trading. Nothing too crazy. But Summit picked this composition to kind of run into Syndicate, while Syndicate played this composition to get run into. So I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to see a lot of this early game aggression as both teams are going to want to take these fights rather early to gain that bit of an edge as we get towards mid game.
Yeah, and the pit has to pick between 3 lanes that are okay. He's taking a lot of damage here. One more for the full stack. I'm gonna quite get it. I mean, oh, there goes Flash in. Auto W, the bleed will be enough. I think it will be. There it is. First blood going over to Napquan and to the top side here, and that's about what you expect into that matchup there. As I was about to say, I mean, the pit is really going to have to choose carefully which lane he goes towards. He's looking for the boss side here, but Bertol is going to sniff him out there. Rip's going to go in for a little bit of a trade there and taking a lot of damage. Oh my goodness there. About one more auto off there. Doesn't have to spin any summoners there, so he's just going to be able to back off from that. And okay, Bertol staying around, seeing if he can't find anything. Looks like just going to go and pick up the scuttle, but yeah, the pit has 3 lanes that don't have really good gank setup, except for maybe the Swain, but like Swain, not the easiest thing to land sometimes. The Sandra having the gap closer as well, and there's not a lot of hard CC between the bot and the top. So even though he is playing a really good ganking champion, that does, 2 bandage tosses, which does kind of make up for that lack of a lot of CC that his laners have. Summit does not have that problem. They have a lot of good setup in all their lanes here, so really going to be hard for the pit to find things in this early game. And Bertol, I feel like, is going to make it find it very easy to be able to do stuff around the map.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage coming out, Shaddy.
Yeah, but you have to be a little bit careful here as we head to the top side, and Bertol's looking for a kill onto Beach here. No flash. I think he's just going to fall down here. Bertol going to pick that one up there, as, I mean, 2 plays simultaneously going wrong for Syndicate here, and Summit is out for blood here. They're looking for their first win. As maybe he's going to go for the tower dive here. He doesn't have enough mana to throw out the Q. Flash trade on both the mid laners here. A little bit of miscalculation from Stratty. Not that bad, though. He's going to be able to live, get out of there, and it's just going to be a flash trade between the mid laners here. Definitely not what he was looking for, but at least he doesn't fall for it.
Yeah, no, but that is massive for the side of Summit. 2-0 now. They got 2 kills for that feat of strength, so they're very close to closing out the first one. Oh, there we go. That they did close out, or they're very close to closing out that first feat, which is really good step forward.
Yep, as Comet got to be careful here. They did see Seeker back here, so Comet, you don't get to exist in this lane now without your support. We do see Seeker walking into this top side, probably for the grubs. They do have a very strong top side with both the kills going up there. Comet, I'm sorry, man, but you're just going to have to take the L on this one. Hopefully, you can do a lot onto the top side here.
Yeah, we do see the first major objectives spawning. I think both Void Grubs and Drake are now down. We're already seeing priority towards the Grubs, as it looks like Baritol is there cleaning them out. They do get interrupted by the pit, though.
Yep, the pit is in here. He does have his splash, but he's going to have to be careful here, as here comes Seeker. Going to be able to root him up. He has to get the hell out of here. Flash over the wall, but here comes Stratty. Can he pick up the kill onto the Amumu? Yes, he can. The pick going to fall down. Boogie Nerd, though. The Demonic Ascension. Stratty has to get out of here. He has no flash. Has this Boogie, but it doesn't matter. The heal coming out from Seeker to make sure he can keep him up alive. The jump over from Baritol here to see if he cannot help his mid lane here. Stratty's going to fall. The cannon barrage coming from Lord Beats to try to help out his mid lane, and it's going to be enough, forcing the flash out of Baritol as Boogie Nerd showing exactly why he picked up this lane into this matchup. It is going to be a 1-for-1 trade. All of the Void Grubs is going to go over to Summit, but still, Boogie Nerd being able to turn a bad situation into a good one for him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of massive, and that should level out the playing field, especially as Stratty Time did get a kill there. That could have been a real tough situation for them, but finding that response is going to make mid lane at least remain rather neutral there. But this poor top side.
Looking for something here. We're still no flash, and Baritol is going to take advantage of that. He's going to have to drop it away for Napcon. Are they going to be able to pick it up? The hook going to be there. Lord Beat's going to fall down. Baritol going to pick that one up. The pit just barely not there in time, and this top side is very much accelerated for Summit.
Yeah, and that's very scary. Napcon is a really good player, and having that vent constantly being able to push it is definitely...
A lot of damage. Whew.
Lots of damage, no kill. But that is definitely a very scary player, a very scary champion to have such an early lead. I mean, we haven't even hit 10-minute marks, and they're 1-0-2, and they already have their first gold bounty. They also have a 20 CS lead. It's very scary if you're, especially for the pit, as that whole top side is now going to become a little bit more precarious as the game goes on. If they do not get that Darius under control, that top side jungle could also become threatened.
Yep, and I mean, Darius, one of those champions that if he just wins the early game, he can just take over the game. And considering there's not a lot of mobility from Syndicate, I mean, that's exactly what a Darius player wants. He wants that low mobility from the opposing side so he can just walk up, do what he wants, and this is exactly what he's just going to do to Beach here once again. And he's going to go for the R. One more auto. I don't think it's going to quite be enough.
Oh, now with the heal.
But I don't think Napcon cares. I mean, he got his dominance. He's going to deny more CS. He's already up like 24 CS right now, and he's going to pick up a couple of plates. There is TP from Beach, though, so he can come back. That is the one good thing about Napcon going Ghost here for Beach. He does have that extra little bit of utility, but yeah, Lord Beach not having a good time so far into this top lane.
No, and looking over at the objectives, of course, the first one was picked up by Summit, so they're a step closer for that healer strength. I do believe, yeah, they do pick up the first healer strength.
I know, a lot of damage here as the pit going to be spotted out from that ward. Liv trying to walk up, get as much damage as possible, and is going to sweep, but it's not going to quite see that ward there. So Summit knows what's going on here, and Syndicate has no idea that they know. So the pit not going to be able to find much here. It looks like a gank into the mid lane was attempted by Summit, not being able to find anything, unfortunately. Looks like Jake might be the next target here for both teams.
Yeah, it looks like they're making their way down to that bot lane. Try to get some prio before a possible break push.
Yep, the engage coming out from Barricade there, not able to quite let go of the Cataclysm there. Flash still up there, but it's going to be rooted up there. There's the Cataclysm as well. There's the Symphony there, and it's going to be Barricade have to watch out here. And Bandage toss finds him shut down going over the Rift here. They're just clumped up here. Shady gonna have to ult himself, but here comes Boogie there trying to slow up the bot lane of Summit here, and it looks like that he's going to be able to just do that. Demonic Ascension there to be able to ascend the lead of Rift here. He now has up 3 kills over to Comet there as Syndicate comes out swinging with a counterattack.
Okay, we went from to 1 to 4 to 5 real quick there. So scarily, this top lane's still a problem, but those 3 kills on the Kog'Maw is going to be a problem. That Kog'Maw is going to come online here. They do secure the Drake off the back of it as well. Not punching the run down.
Here, let's gotta go for it again. A lot of damage coming out. I think he falls down here. Yep, Naquan able to just pick up that one. That's a Darius moment right there for you.
Absolutely. So it's still scary because this Darius is, I don't think fed is the correct word. They are eating well, and they are going to continue to do so until they're stopped. But the Kog'Maw is now becoming a problem. And honestly, I do think that was maybe a little bit of overextension. Baritol did kind of just go in with the Cataclysm very early with not a lot of backup. They only have the Seraphine. I think if they waited just a moment longer, or even if they didn't go for it, but if they had one more champion there to help with the burst down, they could have done something there, but they just did not have that support quite there yet, and they got punished for it heavily.
Yep, and this time we do see both the supports roaming up here instead of just Seeker here. Grubby is definitely going to be the target for both these teams. Syndicate wants to try to get the objectives as much as possible for these future strengths here. Strategy taking a lot of damage there from Boogie. Have to be a little bit careful there. Comet going to struggle now as Rift now has the Blade of the Ruined King here, so it's going to be hard for him to walk up here. Napcon's still well within control into the top lane here, as once again he's going to go on to Beach. Beach has got to be really careful here, and no Noxon guillotine from Napcon up just quite yet, but he's going to flash forward, forcing it from Beach as well, as the Cannon Barrage is about to come up, so he can still lend a hand to this fight if need be, but he won't be there physically, but Napcon will, and Syndicate now gonna have to call off there. They cannot risk losing fight here with how strong this top side is for Summit.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Rip to the Max still down to the bottom side, there's really nothing they could do. They do not damage the push that area is down quick enough. So very
he doesn't have the flash. The heal isn't going to matter. And yeah, it looks like Barito's gonna pick that one up. Lord Beach not having a good game so far, but I will give it to him. His Cannon Barrage did count when he did use it, so if he can get a couple more of those in, be able to scale up, he'll be just fine. But so far, not having a good game, as the pit is going to start up the grubs here. Barreltoe with no ult, about chunked in 30% HP here. Boogie does have the Demonic Ascension. It looks like the Symphony's going to come out there. The target's going to be right onto this move, but 3-man root there. But I don't think it's going to matter. Cannon Barrage is there. Chicken like a Death Rocket. Not going to find what it needs, but it doesn't matter. Napcon going to pick up that one. And that's numbers advantage. That's what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. They played towards the advantage of not having Beach there. They knew also Kog'Maw wasn't there, so they just had it in their pocket. They tried to do what they can to take away what they can, but unfortunately, the pit just could not really have a say in the matter. That 3-man stun was really impressive. It could have been a lot if they had a little bit more support. It just was not there, however. But notably, we are starting to see first items get picked up. So characters are really starting to come online, and you saw a swing rocking the allies. That slow is really going to become a big nuisance as the team fights start becoming more and more frequent. Kog'Maw, like he said, Blade of the Ruined King kind of just makes them come online, which is very scary. Notably, they have not left bot lane though. So it looks like they're going to continue to kind of just farm and feed into this Kog'Maw, at least until we get a little bit closer towards these more major objectives like Baron, and we get towards what the actual Soul Drake is.
Yeah, I mean, both these bot laners are kind of fine with where they are in the state of the actual lane here. SC Grant's be a little bit careful here. As here comes Comet back. Not gonna be able to find much else there, but Jinx, Kog'Maw both just want to scale up, so they're fine with the lane state. Rift probably not so fine with how the game state was in the top side, but I mean, he's happy that he was able to pick up those 3 kills. So still, like, just feeling kind of fine. Both bot laners here with how the game's going so far for them specifically. As Bearful is looking for possibly a lane gank here, but it looks like the pit also going to be looking for the beat once again. I think Dan's not going to on a rampage. Seeker going to fall down though, but the triple knock up there seems like a death knock. They're all clumped up for Comet, but here comes the Lulu's Wild Growth and the double kill going over to Rift, and that's a Kog'Maw Lulu, baby. And I mean, that's all she wrote for that lane right there, as it looked good for Bearful getting the triple knockup, but without the Seeker being able to follow it up with his utility, with his CC, it's not going to be enough. But first turret going to be able to barely beat out the bot lane here on Syndicate, and they're going to be able to pick that one up, and that is going to be Feats going over to Summit.
Yeah, and notably, that is going to be, I think, the 2 feats they need. They got the first 3 kills, and they secured the first turret. So the Drake is not going to come into effect with the feats of strength, but it is being taken here by Syndicate. I think, you know, Summit's aware of it, and now they're starting it off. As Ocean Drake is secured, Rift Herald is also up, and it is going to be the Hextech Drake for the Soul.
Oh, okay, Bearful getting close there. Almost,
he tried.
Almost caught out the pit there. That would have been a tragedy for Syndicate, but fortunately they were able to get out just in time here. As Rinse is now finished up for Rift. I mean, double item power spike for this Kog'Maw. I mean, he's strong with the Lulu Ardent Sensor on top of that. Like, whoo.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real problem, especially as Jinx has boots yet, and I know Kog'Maw has not completed their 2 yet either. They went for a prio for the second item, but the Jinx, at least itemized, is rather far behind now. So already 0-2 plus the Kog'Maw 5-0-1. It's kind of gonna become a game of who can carry a heart. Is Darius up in the top lane for that one, or is it gonna be ripped to the max on this Kog'Maw down the bot?
Yeah, and Bartol himself is also very much accelerated as well. Has the 3 kills, was able to get a lot from to that top side here. See, both junglers practically holding hands there, and 19 going to be able to sniff that one out there. That was a little bit wholesome. 2 junglers just, you know, holding hands unbeknownst to each other there. Both ready to pounce onto the enemy's ADCs there.
I love that. But yeah, and we do see, and we're gonna start seeing it more and more now as both teams are going to want to start playing towards their jungle objectives. Notably, I also didn't mention it, the Otacon did make their presence up on the top lane, which is not great for Syndicate, as they are definitely at a disadvantage towards that top side, and we're seeing that come into play as pretty much Summit are getting this Rift Herald for free. I don't think there's really much they can do.
Scotty trying to go for a little bit of damage there, but it's going to be caught out from Boogie from the E there. And I mean, this is what happens when you go up against the Rylai's Crystal Scepter Swain. There it is. Boogie Nude going to be able to pick up a kill onto Stratty there. Not be able to quite able to get out of that. Rylai's is one heck of an item there.
Absolutely. In the hands of that Swain, it becomes a real problem. The moment you go in on them, or the moment the gap closes, there's just nowhere for you to go. You have to be able to push them down and swing, especially when in that ult form. It's just so difficult to get around. So it's going to be a real problem for pretty much everyone. We're already seeing the Lissandra definitely lose prio in lane 1-3-1 now. The lane also has multiple members of Syndicate in it. So while it's still anyone's game, they both have very clear carries. Both teams also have their routes to victory. Both teams really know what they need to play around, and both are playing towards it. It's just a matter, I think, of the next big team fight. To be honest, they haven't seen a full-scale team fight yet, at least not since I think like the clubs.
Yeah, we haven't seen it yet, so it'll be interesting to see team carries, which carries on either of these sides is going to be able to come out on top. This game is like super even. I mean, 2 Drakes on the Syndicate, but both full sets of grubbies for Summit, and I mean, it's about within like 300-400 gold here. It's even, as Lord Beat's going to be the target once again here. As the flash, don't even think it's worth the use. as who's going to pick that one up? It is going to be Stratty. Lloyd Beach is getting bullied in this game. 7 out of 8 of his team's deaths. Definitely not, or 7 out of 9, my apologies. Definitely not what he's going to be happy about here, as Napcon going to go on to Boogie Nerd here. We see who's going to be able to pick up this 1v1. That's not a 1v1 because Knighton is now here, but he's going to try to go onto Knighton himself, and not the guilty, and will be there. Now Boogie Nerd going to be the next target here. He's going to try to walk away, and the kill coming up. Napcon being able to pull him right back in there. That's a lot of damage, not quite enough though. Still a lot of HP onto Boogie, but Napcon winning out that 1v2 as we see Shelly into the mid lane here. The Pit and Rip gonna have to try to 2v3 this out, 2v4 with Stratty walking up here, as they're gonna be able to break down Shelly here, but not before the tower goes below half HP. And I mean, definitely not what Syndicate wanted there. They had both their, well, I would say their strongest, because I would say Ripped is kind of the strongest, but
yeah,
I think out of everyone on Syndicate, Boogie is still the best one to answer the Darius. So I would say strong in comparison to what Swain can do to Darius, because we know if that was a Kog'Maw, the Kog'Maw would have not lived remotely as long.
absolutely not. The rundown would have just but yeah, no, this is a little bit scary now for Syndicate. They did secure the bottom tier 1 for themselves, but they have lost their tier 1 in top. They've lost their tier 1 in mid, as well as taking the tier 2 down to half. And that tier 1 still in the bot lane is still very precarious. So this is not great. They are going to start losing control of their jungle if they don't start taking some advantages. Again, it's still rather close. You know, it's a 2-kill lead, but these teams,
Coming from Barrow through here onto the pit. They're going to be careful. They don't want to overextend. A huge barrel from Beast there, getting some payback as Ralgo's going on to Boogie Nerd here. The backline enters strategy. He's getting some damage. Boogie Nerd the target, but he's so damn tanky. Tag goes into the backline. Doesn't matter, but here comes Rip just ripping into the backline here. And that is the comp of Syndicate there. Napcon, can he do it? He does have the ult there. There's one. There's two. Not going to be able to quite find the other one. The shield there. Triple kill over to Rip there, as Syndicate is now coming online with their composition there, and that is not what Summit wanted to find whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely not. That was massive, and maybe even a little bit of miscommunication, as it seemed like there was multiple members of the team all kind of stacked in onto the same tight corridor, but no one really attacking the same person. I mean, I believe, I don't remember exactly who it was, but I saw one character moving up north, you know, trying to deal with the support. Meanwhile, you just had Boogie Nerd, who popped that ultimate and was just able to sit in the middle of them and cause havoc and chaos and just deal so much damage, and last long enough for the Kog'Maw to come in and just kind of sweep through the rest of them. Yeah, not what you wanted to see from Summit. They also lost a Drake, so they're now at Drake Soul, or Soul Point, excuse me. So not amazing for Summit. Again, it's still 11-12, so there's still absolutely room for them to come back. Napcon, that is the first death they've had. That is going to be a big bounty over the Syndicate as well. But they still have the advantage. Alakhan is still available, so they might want to play around that and try to take another team fight, one where they can maybe have something similar, but with a little bit less punishing effect to it. So there's definitely still routes for Summit to come back into this and bring it back into their favor. But that's definitely a real good look for Syndicate, as they look so dominant in that.
They're definitely happy with how that turned out. Ripped on his third item, by the way, and Comment not even on his second.
Casually.
The item and a half here. Is trying to work towards that IE. Once he gets it, he'll definitely be you know, big spike for him, but he really wants to get that third spike with a Zeal item, or possibly maybe even a armor pin item for his third, to hopefully just be able to bridge the gap. But if somebody can hopefully wait long enough for Comet to come online to hopefully have their own hyper carry, it might be good. But Rip is just so accelerated here, and Boogie Nerd's also looking towards his third item. And as we saw, Beach got a really good, amazing barrel. That fight that conked the back line of Summit there.
Yeah, I mean, the stat line does look a lot prettier when you have 6 assists. I mean, the 7 deaths is never a good thing, but at least the 6 assists make it look a little better. But yeah, no, that is massive for them, as they're able to just chunk it down. And that, like you said, paired with the Swain ultimate and then Kog'Maw coming through to just well him down, it was real clean. You could really see the team composition, like, of the actual champions themselves. really start to shine as they just absorbed that pressure and then turned it back on the sun.
Baron now spawned up. Atacon also into the top side as well. So these are the only objectives on the map for another 2.5 minutes before Drake spawns. So that is going to be the only look right now for the next like minute and a half before Summit's going to be forced to go down to this bot lane and answer for that Drake. I mean, Hextech soul is strongest soul. Very hard to
by
beat
far.
that.
Yeah, no, by far the strongest soul, and they just can't give it up. They've handed every single Drake away. Either they've lost the fight
Oh, no,
previous.
is going to be picked out. You're going to be forced to flash. We're going to use the demonic ascension. I was hoping that he was going to land, but the Nevermore is not going to be able to find its target. It is going to force the flash out of Comet though. Big summoner coming up, going down here for the next fight that's going to be coming up in about a minute.
Yeah, but yeah, just to continue. I mean, they kind of handed away every Drake out of before, or they just weren't in a position to say in the fight in the first place. So they definitely want to fight for one of these Drakes. Honestly, it might be a matter of them wanting to start in turn one, just try to find some sort of advantage early. Does look like Syndicate are going to try to secure this Atacon. Nepcon is all the way on the bot side. They're going to take.
Yeah, they have no idea. I mean, it's falling down. That's Kog'Maw Lulu for you. It's just getting shredded. Shredder's going to find out, but it's too little, too late there. That is going to be GA Atacon picked up for Syndicate. They're going to feel very happy about that. Now you have a team that wants you to play into them, and on top of that, if they die, who cares?
Yeah, and they're about to just take a massive fight. I mean, the next Drake is up in what, 30 seconds? So they got it at pretty much the perfect time here as you see them start to march, as well as Summit is still a little bit scattered. If they can find a pick here early, this could just be sold.
Yeah, Summit's got to be really careful. I mean, they need this. They need to stop this soul. If they don't stop this soul, the game becomes astronomically harder for them. It's gonna be a tough ask with GA Atacon, but it's gonna be Death Bush here, and they spelled out just Seeker. So Seeker could be hopefully baiting her out here. That is going to be the Vision coming out, but not quite onto that Tri-Bush. They're being patient. They know somebody's going to walk into this. Baratul now going to show himself up onto this wave here as Deathbush also up from Syndicate. Who's going to pull it first?
They are gonna get spotted though. I think it's in vain for both teams now. I think they're both aware.
Yeah, they both kind of figured out what each other wanted to do here, as Vision is gonna be spotted out there. Still no Vision into this try for Syndicate, unfortunately. They were spotted at that one, and that little tough there, as bot lane Prio is gonna be on Summit's side, but Boogie are gonna be in mid lane, taking down this tower. I mean, if Summit wants to do something, they got to do it now. I mean, Boogie's not there. This is like the best opportunity, but with the tower falling down, he's gonna walk back and he's gonna have the Prio over Stratty, but Stratty could have the flank. It might make a difference here. I mean, they're just waiting for the Atacon buff to wear out at this point. As Recall coming out from Boogie, he does have TP. Probably gonna pick up an item. Yep, that is a huge buy for Boogie Nerd here, as it's now gonna, the Drake is not gonna be started from Syndicate here. We do see Lord Beach kind of onto the flank here, but the same with Stratty, as Boogie Nerd also looking for a flank for himself. Napcom gonna be able to sniff that one out. Lord Beach now gonna be on the side, and he is gonna be the target. He's gonna flash over the wall, being able to survive. Hextech so gonna be picked up, double root up, triple charm there. Super Mega Death Rocket doing a lot of damage. Boogie now gonna prop the Demonic Ascension, gonna flash in. That's a lot of damage, that's a lot of CC. Boogie Nerd on a killing spree, and Comet Cruiser gonna fall down there, as they don't care if they don't have the Atacon buff anymore. They picked up the soul, they pick up one kill there, and they're gonna walk away, possibly even looking for a Baron play into this top side, as Lord Beach got to be a little bit careful, but he is gonna be able to sniff that one out, and Syndicate well within control of this game now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of yet another Drake that they just kind of handed over. They did not start it, which honestly was probably fair to do, as again, they did have the Atacon buff, and that's very, very scary to go into. Try to wait it out. But in the end, Syndicate forced their hand. They go for the Drake. They try to secure the kill on the Lord Beach, but Lord Beach has the flash to get over the wall, and that pulls 2 or 3 of Summit away, and that gives them just enough time and room for Boogie Nerd to just flash into the middle of them and just find pretty much everyone as they do find the 1 kill. They did not secure too many kills in that process, but it meant that the Drake was pretty much theirs to take, and they were immediately putting Summit on the back foot. And again, Otacon's been taken, Drake's soul is now secured, and Baron's really the only major objective left to go. And at this point, if you're Syndicate, you're kind of looking for that win con at this point. You're already ahead. You're about 3K gold, so it's not the most dominant win yet, but they're definitely in a position where if they have one real good team fight, they could at least put them on death's door.
They're definitely someone gonna have to be very careful. They are definitely not playing to the strengths of what their comp is. They try to catch out Beach there, which was looking for a good look for a second there, as Comet could be the target here, and a really good Flame Chompers to keep him alive, but the Pit is also here, the Flash being forced out there, and here comes the Art from Seeker, the Q also coming out, trying to walk away. Bandit Charge is going to land, Seeker probably gonna fall down here, and there he goes, as Berto is just going to see his Force Therapy and onto the ground there, gonna run right into that Amumu, gonna have to flag and drag away from there, as I mean support and ADC falling down here. I didn't even see Comet fall down there. I'm guessing he got burned down from the Leandres, as Baron's going to be the target. Napcon feeling like he needs to do something here. I mean, that Baron is going to be absolutely shredded with who Syndicate has on their team. This Kog'Maw so far ahead, and there's Baron. Syndicate going to be wearing purple. They're looking to end this game here in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And meanwhile, Lord Beach was able to get to that. Possibly did save it. So that is really good for them if true, because that means Napcon was not able to get any in trade for it either. So that was pretty much Baron for nothing. Meanwhile, Boogie is going to secure that top turret, and here we go. We are starting to see the siege come out from Syndicate. They have the advantage. They have the soul. They have that Baron buff. And honestly, at this point, we need to see Summit play nearly flawlessly, or play the advantage, find one pick early, and try to turn a team fight. Because if they try to take this fight 5-on-5, they're frankly going to get rolled, especially as the Jinx does have their items. They're almost through that third item, that third seal item, like you mentioned earlier. But by far and away is still so far behind this Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw is going on what, 4 items now? 4 items
as well. I mean, he knows he's doing damage. He just needs to survive. And with that item picked up, I mean, that's like the beginning of the end, you know? For Summit, it's like, how do you kill this Kog'Maw now with the Lulu? So Rip's feeling very nice about this. Still deathless. The same with Boogie Nerd here. Both their carries just playing, absolutely flawlessly this game.
Yeah, and this is also really scary, just in terms of like the general like state of the league. I mean, the big notable name for this team has been Jake, so it was very scary seeing, you know, Jake being out for this game. How are they going to go? Who's going to be that hyper carry? And Rip to the Max and Boogie Nerd have just massively stepped up. If you are another player or another manager in this league and you're watching this game, Syndicate is looking real scary. Syndicate is becoming a little bit worse.
Yep, once you get past those first couple weeks, you start getting some synergy. I mean, any of the teams could be looking to absolutely be monsters. That's what we said at the beginning, where all these teams look strong. I feel like every single one of them has the potential to, you know, win it into the finals here. It just requires that synergy building, and seeing how, I mean, both these teams don't have their full roster here. So, I mean, this just goes to show, I mean, both these teams showed great things this game. You know, both Syndicate and Summit, and the fact that they both don't have their full rosters just goes to show that, you know, how much, you know, it can make a difference. And imagine if they had it, how much stronger they would look as Syndicate. Just, you know, kind of looking around, fishing to see if they can't find anybody. And Stratty, you have to be a little bit careful. Napcon is there. Gonna skirt just along there. Stratty almost practically getting one shot. The same with Napcon. You're not tanky with the Kog'Maw there. Rip to the Max is legendary, and Lord Beach getting a little bit of payback, more than a little bit of payback from how the laning phase went there. And That's Elder. Elder in 3 seconds.
Yeah, that is Elder pretty much. That one was the biggest threat by and with them off the board for the next 40 seconds, it's just handed to them. They did lose the Baron, so the Baron buff is gone, but again, they've already sieged through most of the turrets. They're in a really strong winning position right now. One more big team fight goes their way, and that could just be game.
Yep, and with the Elder, I mean, their siege isn't going to be nearly as strong, so they don't have the Baron, but I don't think that matters, especially since Boogie Nerd is as tanky as he is with the Lulu plus Jack Show onto the Kog'Maw. I mean, Amumu even at this point, Abyssal Mask, 3 items, Sunfire with the Leandres. I mean, they can pretty much just walk up and do whatever they want here. Looks like they're still gonna give a lot of respect so far. They don't want to fight without Beach here. He doesn't have the Cannon Barrage either, but still though, a lot of leads coming out for Syndicate here, as Napcon gonna go into this top side here. Syndicate gonna be waiting for the next wave and just looking for a misstep from Summit so they can pull the trigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're starting to see the winning mentality. They start taking some of the jungle camps. They're starting to just hold back any advantage that this Summit team can get, take away any advantage they can find. Jungle camps are going, they're clearing out these waves, they're not giving them any access to the jungle. Full 5 are on lane. I'd imagine they want to try to find a team fight here soon with this Elder buff.
Yeah, this is the problem with their comp. They don't have a lot of like engage and options compared to Summit. Their siege isn't that strong, especially without Baron. So that's kind of a problem they're running into right now. Even with four dragons with Hexexel and with Elder, and with the fact that they're up 10k gold, that's still not enough to be able to beat the siege against a team that has a lot of options to engage. So they're being careful. They don't want to throw the game because a straight out wipe at this point can just completely turn the game around for Summit.
Oh, yeah.
So Syndicate being a little bit careful, but it gets to a point where it's like you can't wait too long because then they're going to start getting their items. The gold lead you had isn't going to matter. And then it's just going to be a full item team versus a full item team. And no team wants to be in that position, right? So Syndicate definitely going to have to find a way to try to, you know, do something here, as Baron is going to be spawning here. And that is going to be Syndicate's answer.
I mean, yeah. That is just going to be the clear route they want to take. Notably here, Summit do look like they're going to try to interfere. There is only 3 sitting around. If they wanted to take this fight, they would have the advantage, but I think they're playing very carefully, and they're not going to. And that moment of delay is going to allow Lord Beach and Boogie Nerd to get into the mix. So this might be it here.
Yep, mid probably going to be picked up by Boogie Nerd and ripped to the max here. They're just trying to get as much vision as possible, get as much lane prio, and you know, he's so damn tanky at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. A massive problem. And they have not started it yet. It looks like both of these teams are playing this so neither one really. Both teams are doing their due diligence, putting so much respect on each other.
Oh, Napcon is going to run out. He's going to flash here. The Bandit cost number 2 still up, as Boogie Nerd going to be able to pull Baritol. I don't think that's really going to start things, but he's going to flash in the middle of 4. He's so damn tanky. Look at all that healing he has. He comes to Sifty, being able to hit onto 3, but I don't think it's going to matter. Napcon looking for a engage into the backside here, as Comet Crews are going to be forced to flash, taking through about half HP, but it's going to be happy. Ripped to the max, going to be the target here. He does have the flash if he needs to. He doesn't care. That's the Jack Show doing a lot of work there. As a triple kill going over to him. Make that a triple kill. He's probably going to make it 4, and there's the 5th right there. Can he get the Penta? No, he cannot. Another Penta kill stolen away, and guess what? It was also the top laner this time. Once again, what is up with top laners doing Pentas here? As Syndicate going to be able to pick up that ace, not losing a single member. They're going to march through the base here, picking up game number 1.
Wow. And that fight was actually looking pretty good for Summit. I mean, Napquan did get caught out, but Napquan survived that initial burst. They also drew out the Cannon Barrage and the ultimate from the Swain. Two massive game-changing, fight-turning ults immediately and did not take too much damage in response. So that was probably Summit's best chance of winning a fight, at least in the last like 10, 15 minutes. But in the end, it doesn't matter. They even got the Cog Maw out, but like you said, that Jack show
Heck
just
so.
meant that even though they caught him off guard, even though they caught him out of position, there's nothing they could
Yeah,
do. He didn't even go below 75% health. He just sat there while he was getting attacked and just slowly not even slowly, they just melted them away. They were gone. So yeah, no, it very, very unfortunate for Summit. They did have a really good game. They kept that real close
yeah,
for a really long time. I do also want to give a massive shout out to Baritol. That was probably one of Baritol's best games, at least statistically, that we've seen. He was constantly in the mix. I think he was still sitting on like one death until probably that last
yeah. He,
fight.
he really
He
didn't
was
fall
doing
that
really
much.
good at setting up his team and not giving any advantage over to the side of Syndicate. The only thing that I really worried about is again the fact that he just kind of gave over four Drakes.
Um, he
Like
gave up a lot of objectives. I mean, and Drake stacking for Syndicate was really a godsend for them. I mean, it helped bridge the gap of what they needed for a win con for that game for kind of like the mid late game transition. Especially with how much Summit was in control into the top side of, for like vast majority of that for all the early game and pretty good amount of that mid game there. So, I mean, good on the pit to be able to stack those objectives. Definitely what they
yeah,
needed.
and honestly, it wasn't even that they just kind of gave up every major objective. They picked up both the grubs and they picked up that first Rift Herald. It's just they gave up all of those drakes. They put no pressure on that bottom side jungle objectives. And by the time they really tried, they lost soul. And after that, they couldn't really compete with Baron fights. They couldn't compete with the Elder fight. And the game was pretty much lost at that. And we need to see them put a little bit. So the gameplay from Baritol, very good. They actually did really good in those team fights. They picked out the right players that they needed to. They got that advantage early on top lane, but they really need to play to all of the objectives. They just cannot hand over the Drakes. That was kind of the death nail early.
Yeah, it really sealed the deal for them. I mean, especially for it being Hexel on top of that, strongest
Mhm.
soul. It just made it very hard for Summit to play the game. It's as we saw multiple times, Boogie just popped his R, flashed into the middle of everyone, and got on top of his rally slow. He's also getting the Hex slow, and all he needs to do is tag someone with his Q, and he gets that slow for on multiple people. And there's just so many opportunities for him to find what he needs to find, without even needing to expend his flash, right? Because every time he expended his flash, it was like a guaranteed scenario, right?
Yeah.
Because of the Hex Soul Slow. And that Hex Tech Soul really bridged the like problem that Syndicate had, which was consistent engage, right? And the
Mhm.
ability to find what they need to find without having Summit just going into them. As you saw, like their siege, very difficult, right?
Very.
Um, and their team fights, although like very strong as we saw at the end there, it was off from Summit a lot of the times engaging onto them. And Boogie Nerd, as we saw a lot of times though, was able to find a lot for his own engages because of the rallies and because of that Hex Soul. So the Hex Soul was, I feel like, was really big there, but still, the biggest thing for that game was just the Kog'Maw Lulu. I mean, that
Yeah.
triple kill just literally just set him up to hard carry that game, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. That triple kill early just meant that steamroll their entire game. Also, Boogie Nerd in that mid lane. They really like Lissandra was competing early. They found I think the first kill actually between the two of them. But as the game progressed, that gap between the Lissandra and the Swain just kept growing and growing, and Lissandra just kept having less and less impact. Meanwhile, the Swain became more and more of a problem. They just could not find a way of dealing with it. It was kind of a menace. So game overall was rather close until it rather wasn't. But there's definitely some bright spots coming out from Summit. Very clearly, some bright spots out of Syndicate. But of course, this is a best of three series. So that was only game number one. It is 1-0 in favor of Syndicate going into map number two. But before we get there, we are going to take it to a quick break so the teams can use the bathroom and get ready for the next game. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with game number two.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to hopefully it's going to be a game number two into a game three if Summit can, bring it back here. I'm hoping for it, right? They're 0 and 2. It would be nice to see them be able to tie it up, make this at least a three-game series. If not win. Not saying I don't want to see Syndicate winning. That's not what I mean at all. I just want good content. We have not had a three-game series yet into the broadcast, so it would be nice to see it on this terms where it's like very dependent on a team to not go winless for a third week in a row. So
Oh
even
yeah.
if they do end up falling in the third game, at least bring us to a third game.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, this is probably their best chance to do so. They've been 2-0 last two series, so they are definitely on the back foot. But that game one, was actually rather close. I mean, it was 8-8 at one point with like maybe a couple hundred goal difference. It was very much either team's game, but as they got into the late game, it was just really, really solid play, really strong strategy. The composition for the side of Syndicate. I mean, it was the tale of a team who picked a comp that was meant to play a certain way, and they did it really, really well. They just punished any aggression towards them, and as they got into late, they were able just to take it. They did have some issues, especially like we mentioned before, with taking the initiative and finding engage onto Summit. But overall, they played really well. Summit again kept it close. If there was a time for Summit to bring this to a game three or have a three-game series, they want to bounce back after 2-0. This is the time. And again, I don't want to keep harping on it because obviously it didn't make that much of a difference, seeing as they had two players come up massive in the last game, but Jake is still not here. Missing their star jungler, like second in the entire league in terms of like kills per minute. Crazy. That's a big piece to be missing. So this is Summit's opportunity to take it to three and to try to take the series. But Syndicate showing that even with that disadvantage, they're still here to play.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a stop by any means. So they still showed that they could be competitive with Syndicate. So it's definitely possible, right? It's definitely not a stretch to say this can go into three games. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of like the answers are for how last game went into the draft for this draft. To see like if there's if they plan on doing kind of the same thing, but maybe switch out a couple of bands or maybe kind of, copy off, Syndicate's homework and kind of try to do what they're doing as we do have side swaps coming out here. So we're going to see if Jinx is still going to be the prio pick here.
Yep.
Lulu, I will say, has been pretty big in a lot of games we've seen her in, whether win or loss. Just one of those champions that goes so well with the number one ADC right now, which is Jinx, and the fact that Kog'Maw did just become so strong because of the new attack speed cap increases and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see, what the adaptation is for Summit for this draft.
Yeah. And I would not be surprised if we saw Lulu, this league just in general, not put a lot of priority on banning out supports. In fact, in the top 10, there's been no support bans in terms of like percentage of how often they are banned. None of them are support. Though Lulu does have one of the highest presence. She's been in roughly about 40% of games. And again, that is kind of a symptom of a Jinx being the priority pick for most teams right now, and that combination being really strong. Um, but I am interested. I imagine here we see Summit ban it out, ban out Cogma, because I think most teams are willing to go into a Jinx. I think there are responses because while Jinx is the highest pick, Jinx is by far not the highest win rate. So I think teams are willing to give up the Jinx pick. But with how that last game just went, I don't know if they're willing because Summit are now on red side, so they get second pick. So I would not be surprised if we see that ban come through, so they can ensure that they might get Jinx, but they're certainly not going to get that monster again.
Yeah. I mean that's true. It's also the problem with when it comes to prio pick is that universally prio for amateur leagues especially tends to be um tends to be the ADC, right? So you can't pick your ADC and support here for Syndicate now, while Summit does have that opportunity. Although support tends to be one of those picks where it's like we kind of want to wait until towards the last pick to get a counter, but with how strong like someone like Lulu is, it's really hard to do that as we see Summit actually banning out the Lulu as the first ban. So Seeker's not even going to attempt that, and Jinx
Okay.
going to be the ban here. So Jinx good with not just Lulu, so still a good ban there. While Cog, I wouldn't say it requires the Lulu, but it's definitely not, can't just,
Definitely the
copy paste the cookie cutter there for Syndicate without the Lulu, especially as
oh yeah.
first pick. So and wow, they're still gonna do okay.
They're
Prove
gonna
me
go
wrong,
for it.
Syndicate. Prove me wrong. Right. We'll see what the answer for Summit is this time. They know they don't have to worry about the Lulu. They can pick up their ADC here, obviously. Now the question is, are they going to hold their support, or are they going to try to pick a support that maybe Nighton wants to pick himself, to try to kind of contest that pick? We'll have to see kind of what Summit wants to do here. See what the adaptations is going to be against this Kog'Maw pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at the bands here, oh, actually, we do see the misfortune come out. So that's also another very high value, another champion strong in the meta.
Against Ronnie.
We actually see them not go for the support, so they're not going for the one to the secure bot lane. They do pick up the Sejuani, who is pretty much been a staple for the last couple of years. So just kind of been in and around the meta, maybe dropping out for a couple of months, coming back in, but really good for team play. Really good at setting up big fights, finding those engages. So also, that massive freeze is really, really helpful when you have the bullet time in your back pocket. Lilia,
Here we
oh
go, and
my,
then the
I
Janna for
yeah,
Nighton there for this bot synergy here. So we'll see. We'll see how much difference it's going to be between the Lulu and the Janna here, and see if Syndicate can just pull off the same thing they did last game.
yeah, absolutely. Another enchanter. So obviously not the number one pick, but Janna might still find a lot of value here. That
Mhm.
Lilia is actually really interesting. That is the most banned champion in the entire split. Did not get picked up. I was surprised no one picked them up in the last game, but the two compositions didn't really play for that. But we do see it get picked up here. Lilia rather strong right now in the current meta. Not surprised. We continue to see Summit be personally traumatized by game number one as we see yet another gem. Every single champ that they picked in the last game or they banned was picked in the last game. So really not wanting to see any similar faces on the rift.
Yeah, the only one that wasn't banned out so far was the Kog'Maw.
Which was
They
picked.
decided to
Yeah.
go for the Jinx instead, but 3 out of 5 bans gonna be coming out. Do we see the Gangplank ban? I doubt it. It would be funny to
No,
see,
it was not
but I
it,
doubt it.
yeah, I
Uh,
wouldn't be that threatened by the gangplank Owen to start off the game. Obviously ended up still winning, so it was not double digits to six, but I definitely not the biggest threat. We do see the Galio go, which again, another high priority champion, really good.
Now,
Um,
I will say the one thing that does interest me about that Galio ban, right, is the fact that you have Janna, so you have like a
mhm.
enchanter utility support, you have Lilia, not like a hard hyper engage type of jungler, and then once again you also have Lord Beach not Lord Beach, but comment on Cog. Or the other way around, ripped to on Cog. And it becomes this whole thing of like you ban the Galio away, but it's like what is Galio going to do for what Syndicate currently has, right? So it's only for their
Yeah.
top lane to pick like a hyper engage, but at that point is the ban really worth it? I just find that a little bit interesting considering they don't have a lot of engage opportunities right now on Syndicate, right? So and
Mhm.
Galio, yes, is an engage option, so banning out engage option, but it's usually goes with another engage option with the top side or with something into the support role or the jungle, and Syndicate currently doesn't have that. So I just think there might have been a better ban. That's just my opinion. Uh,
Yeah.
but we do see the Orianna coming out for Summit here. Yeah, I mean they have double engage for jungle and support here. So and
Yeah.
really goes really well with the MF and Fizz going to be picked out from Syndicate. Again, it's like last game. It's glass cannon.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Absolutely. I do worry a little about the lack of tankiness. on top line, we see someone more
Yep,
okay,
it's connected.
connected. Not quite what I was expecting. Not a lot of tankiness on the Syndicate, but Renekton can hold their own. Obviously, also build more tank. Don't know if that's the current meta, but you can absolutely do it. Um, but it's definitely interesting. Like you said, glass cannon definitely feels.
I don't know how I mean, sorry, I do know how I feel about the Renekton pick. I
How do you feel
tell
about the Croc?
I tell everybody this about Renekton. If you are not like better than your lane opponent, Renekton is useless. It's not a good champion
Yeah,
because if you cannot win out in that lane, he falls off so hard in team fights. He falls off so hard in late game. Um, and as we see, Napquan gonna pick up. I mean, it's going to be the Gwen,
yeah.
and it's like
It's
it's one of
it's
those
a
things
choice.
where it's like we saw how last game went, right? Like I'm not
Hmm.
trying to say that Beach is an awful player by any means, but Napcon just mopped the floor with him, right? And Renekton is very a consistent pick on if you pick this champion, you gotta win lane. And if you're not getting kills, that's fine. At least get the prio. And with the Gwen pick up there, it's gonna be hard to do that against a player such as Napcon, which I believe Napcon is actually a pretty strong player. So we'll have to see if my line of thinking here is correct with Renekton, but I just don't like the Renekton pick even on a good day. So, call me LS on that, where I just don't like the pick. I hate it.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a ballsy pick. Like you said, I 100%. I do think you just kind of have to win, and that you have to be feeling a very certain way about wanting to prove yourself if you know that and you still pick a Renekton going into this lane, and not just picking Renekton. They also blind picked Renekton. I mean, there was still the final pick for the side of Summit. So it's definitely going to be interesting. Like you said, glass cannon on the side of Syndicate. It's going to be. I do think this Gwen might be a problem. I'm looking at the composition here, and obviously Fizz and the Renekton are going to be going in, so I do not have to really worry about that Gwen W. But the Janna, the Lilia with the what's it called, with the bowling ball also pretty much negates all of Kog'Maw's abilities. Gwen's W, it might be a problem in team fights if it's used properly. Um, I definitely think these are two very interesting team compositions. I'm very interested to see how they do running into each other.
Yep, and no engage from Syndicate either. Like no consistent
Yeah,
hardcore
the
engage.
the only thing I can think of is they can go in a big ult from Lilia, um, and that's really it. Like there's
That's
nothing.
pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, like Fizz can go in and his ult, but that's not an outright engage. And obviously Renekton can go in, but they'll be diving onto a Gwen, a Sejuani, a Thresh, and Oriana. Like that's a lot of CC to be running headlong into. But that's enough talking and chat about the team compositions. We are about to be making our way into game number 2. We are just waiting for the spectator delay to run its course, but we are going to send to a brief intermission before we make it over to game number 2. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with game 2, Syndicate versus Summit Esports.
Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back to game number 2 with Syndicate versus Summit. Syndicate able to pick up the first game there, as it was a close game. Definitely a close game, but we're gonna see a little bit of a side swappage going on here. Syndicate on the blue side this time, so we'll see if it was
Oh,
just a red side luck, or if Syndicate are gonna be able to get a win onto the blue side here, as we see an invade coming out from Summit. They do have the Thresh, so it makes sense.
yeah, and they were spotted pretty early, so they are aware of this and they're playing this carefully. It looks like they're not going to really get anything out of it. Spot it way too early. Couldn't really get the jump on anyone.
Yep, unfortunately, you don't get a level 1 Fiesta. I always love those. Come on,
Always
guys.
goes a little
Couldn't
bit
have
chaos.
done it just for me. I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
One day.
One day. But we do see a pretty standard start. Nothing too crazy. Everyone kind of just trying to figure out where everyone is across the map. But we do see a little bit of action down the bot lane as both teams are trying to play a little bit, try to find that advantage. Seeker is going to take a little bit of damage. But
I mean, definitely trying to look for something early. I mean, okay, but he's just gonna Trickster right on top of Stratty there. Gonna be able to get the electrocute. You think that's gonna be popped, and Stratty gonna, go right back around, but the Destiny's gonna land nice and below half HHE. There we go. You don't see the Q start level 1 onto Thresh that often, but, when it pays off, it definitely pays off there. As they're gonna get level advantage here. Rep's gonna have to be careful. Seeker's gonna flash, play there. Bear gonna come out, same with here. Destiny's going to land. He still does have the flash. Exhaust coming out there. One more auto will be enough. First blood going over to Comet. A little payback from the last game there, as he's gonna be able to pick up a couple of those minions there, but really perfect timing for Comet and Seeker to get that kill. Be able to shove that wave under and be able to probably get this one down as well. So gonna be able to die a lot of golden XP for Rip here.
yeah, absolutely. That's nearly perfect for them. Meanwhile, up in this mid, do see some more braiding. But yeah, that's exactly what we wanted to see coming out from Syndicate. That's a much stronger start. Again, really struggled last game, Comet. They really could not get a foothold in. So to have that Thresh find all of their abilities, find every hit there, and to be able to capitalize on it too was massive.
Okay, gonna be able to dodge that. But
Oh,
he doesn't
no.
have the E anymore, and here comes Baratol. Perfect timing. Flash not going to matter. Baratol gonna be able to pick up that kill. Using his E at not the best of times there, as Baratol going to collapse right onto that. Daddy and Baratol gonna be feeling very happy about that. Wood Beach now gonna be fighting into Napcon here, and that's Gwyn for you right there. He's gonna be able to dash out. Napcon gonna be able to win out in that trade. Just Gwyn things, am I right? Is going to have a little bit of an advantage. Dwayne is going to be pushing into Beach. He's going to feel happy about that, but not happy about losing that cannon.
Yeah, definitely not, especially as Napquan knows they have the advantage. And he's just going to continue to keep them back, continue to keep pushing them off the wave. Goal advantage is now into their favor, but does look like there's some presence.
Oh, the pit is here. Gonna be able to dodge right out of that scroll seed there. I don't think much else is really gonna be fine, but he's gonna dash through that minion there, and he's not gonna be able to find the next dash there. I'm guessing he already used that. That was the second dash. Otherwise, I think he would have tried to gone on there. As Napcon just, absorbing a little bit of pressure here, being able to get out. Doesn't even have to reset quite yet. And Lord Beach, I mean, he still has the flash up. No flash from Napcon. He did go with the ghost TP, but still, Beach not in a best of spot right now.
Absolutely not. This is especially as they get chunked down again. That's going to finally force a recall, and that's going to be a nice, healthy chunk of change and a bit of a gap in CS for Napquan now. Notably here, just keeping track with the feature strength as you can see in the stream on the screen. Excuse me. First two have gone over to Summit in terms of the feeder strength involving the first 3 kills. We are finally seeing the major objectives come up as well. Drake is now here. We'll be starting.
Okay, we see a Lantern coming out here. Good knock-up coming out from Knight there, as he's going to be able to get that away, but Seeker's still seeking, and the pit is here. Seeker's going to fall down here. The pit going to be taking pretty low himself. He's going to have to be careful, but doing a lot of damage. Flashing out. Baratol doesn't have a flash, and it's gonna be a dodge out of that tornado. It doesn't matter, but he's gonna try to go for the trade kill. Not be able to quite get it here as Ripped. Gonna force a flash out of Comet there. Not what Summit wanted whatsoever, as Boogie they're gonna go into the mid lane here. Stratty, have to be careful. Burning down, is it going to be enough? I don't think so, not quite. Is gonna be able to force Stratty out from there. Stratty with no TP. Boogie now having the advantage into this mid lane for the next 20 seconds, as Syndicate gonna feel real happy what happened bot lane there, especially after that first blood kill on to Ripped there, as, I mean, Seeker really wanted to try to force a play there.
Yeah, absolutely, and unfortunately got punished for it. Notably, one kill did go over to the Lilia, so it wasn't like in the last game with Syndicate were a little behind and got 3 kills off Rip. On rep, I guess would be the more accurate saying, but that was still a kill going over the Cogmaw, brings them a little bit more back level with the MF. Notably, still pretty far down in CS. Grubs are going to be secured by the blue side of Syndicate, though, which is
gonna
a
be
little
able
scary.
to pick that one up. Is going to be inverse of what happened last game, as Knight is going to be spotted out on the top side. Seeker is now here. Not much else they can really do, other the Pit is now going to be spotted onto the Raptors. See if they can't do anything. And Knight taking quite a bit of damage there from the combo from Stratty, as once again, Lord Beach. Oh no, he's trying.
Does have flash.
He tried to go for a little bit of a trade there, but I mean, 2 damage, right? I mean, Glenn just gonna be able to win out in that one.
Yeah, and we're already seeing the continuation of last game where Napquan is just putting some serious distance between the two. Renekton is actually keeping up with the CS. It's just a matter of they're just really struggling to stay in the actual lane and have a competition here. They're now level, but they're a little bit behind on XP as well. So right now, Gwen definitely holds the advantage, but it's really just in this top lane. Syndicate's rest of their lanes are doing rather well. Obviously, no kill on Fizz quite yet, but has full control of that mid lane right now. So while it's struggle bus on the top lane for Syndicate, the rest of their lanes are doing great.
Yeah, and even though that Summit has the advantage into the top side, they actually still lost the Grubbies. So, I mean, Syndicate really fine with that state of the game. Like, even without topside control, they still got the topside objective. So, I mean, they're fine with it. As long as Beach just doesn't die, they're fine. They're going to feel fine with all this.
Yeah, absolutely. I am surprised we have not seen any team go for Drake yet. But again, that Grubs was secured by Syndicate, so they are one of the first. They got the first of the 3 possible major objectives to try to secure that feat. So they are officially in the lead in that regard. Does look like we might see the Dragon take. Wonder if we're going to get any vision there to see.
Yeah, I don't think so. They're supposed to upgrade into the top side of that. This is going to be the second objective, so... Yeah, tough break for Summit. I mean, exactly the problem that we were talking about that they had last game. It seems to be continuing here, and they didn't even get the Grubbies this time.
Yeah, which it was a real problem because they got the Grubs, which allowed them to have an advantage and stop Syndicate from really being able to siege late game. But
Secret
having them
for something here. I could be able to quite find anything. I mean, Knight is kind of perfect for like anti-engage here, so he's trying to go for something here. He's gonna pop his ulti, but I think it was just kind of like reactionary to see if he can't find possibly anything into Napquan, but is gonna be forced to reset here. Does have his TP coming up, so he's gonna be able to TP Drift right back, but again, down about 20 CS, so the CS diff is increasing very slowly as we see Boogie going to go into the mid lane here. Is going to be able to land the Shark there, or sorry, Bunny, as Stratty going to be ignited on Boogie, going to be able to dash right through there. One more auto, is it going to be enough? No, the shield is there. Stratty going to be able to just barely live out in that one. 2 times in a row where Boogie Nerd was practically robbed of a kill. And Comet going to use the MF ultimate there, going to clear that wave, wants to get a fast reset, and reset Napquan as well as Lord Beach actually did not use the TP. So wanting to keep TP so he can use it possibly for a cross-map play or when it's a little bit more advantageous for his team. He already knows that he's not winning out into this matchup at the current moment, so he's just going to try to play, you know, selflessly for his team here. As next Grubbies are going to be spawned up here, both junglers into this top side here. The pit possibly going to be looking for something. Dash out from Baruto.
Yeah, and it looks like they want to put some pressure on this top side as Grubs are up. Everyone's kind of making their way. Meanwhile, these two ADCs are doing exactly what they did last game.
Yep, literally the exact same thing. Comet does have a significant lead into the CS, though. Grubby is going to be spotted up. It's going to be noticed by Napcon. Napcon is going to try to engage here. Stun coming in from Lord Beach. Got the cooldown used already. Lord Beach going to be the target. Play back in. Going to try to dash out. Really nice dash. Knock up. Seeker is going to be beaten down. Berto's going to be the next target. Flash out from the pit to make sure he can stay alive. Double sleep coming out, doing a lot of damage there. Napquan not be able to quite find the damage he needs. Really good shockwave, gonna buy a little bit of space, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Really good heal coming up from Knighton. Flash Q coming out. Lord Beach gonna spin right onto Napquan there. Pick up that kill, and disastrous for Summit. It looked good, but a really well played from Lord Beach actually to pull in all of Summit to, you know, bait them out for his team, as we're going to see a tower dive coming out here, and Comet going to be able to pick up that kill. Going to be forced to flash. Is he going to fall down? Yes, he will! Trade kill coming out there, as Rip's going to be able to pick that one up using his passive there, as, I mean, the bot lane's pretty much even now.
Yeah, bot lane remains even. They are both in a pretty good spot. Both are just wanting to go ahead and continue to farm their waves. Meanwhile, that top side, the Lilia is becoming a bit of a problem. 2-0-3, almost 1,000 gold lead ahead of the Sejuani. Definitely gonna become a problem if remained unchecked. But yeah, no, it was really well played by Lord Beach and the rest of Syndicate there. I think maybe a little bit of poor positioning as well. Napcon was kind of stuck off on their own.
There we go. Lord Beach feeling a little bit more comfortable. He does have the item advantage, but there is Tabby pickup from Napquan, which is going to really diminish the damage that Lord Beach can do onto this top laner. But still, the Eclipse pickup gonna feel nice. He is up the item onto Napcon. He is gonna be feeling strong into these team fights if he can get there. It's definitely not gonna be pure off for this matchup, as Baritol gonna be get thrown Lantern to, doesn't pick it up, decides to use his own mobility spell there, as, I mean, come on, guys, just click the lantern. Click the lantern. As he's going to be spinned on. Descendant's not going to be able to find his target. The pit going in deep there, as the Bola going to barely miss there. As same with the Shark Toss. Boogeyman not going to be able to find anything. A lot of whiffs coming out from both sides there, but Summit going to be happy that they're not going to falter there.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I do want to point out the biggest difference at the moment. Man, they don't even take the lantern when they have it ready. But the biggest gap right now is by far the jungle. Napcon tries to go in on the turret. But 1,000 gold, 1.1 actually, 1,000 gold lead towards the Lilia. Meanwhile, every other single lane, the next biggest gap in gold is actually the support. So 500 advantage over to John.
We're going to see a little bit of a play going on here as our spectators kind of pull us here. There it goes. Oh. Apologize for that. I was going to see Rip picking up a kill there. The same with Secret onto Knighton. Double kill going over the Rift. I've seen this one before. Can we play the sequel? No, we cannot. Not quite the triple kill once again, but close enough, as Rip to the max, doing what he did last game and picking up a lot of kills. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of an issue on our end, so a little bit frozen up, but you know, it's going to be Rip to the max doing the same thing.
Yeah, no, just absolutely mows them down. That is going to be the feat of strength over towards Syndicate as well. They're also 2 out of 3 for the major jungle objectives. They're also rather close. Oh,
Napcon gonna be the target. If that's what he uses. Art already popped, but there comes Lord Beach with his own. Knighton just here to make sure they can pick up this kill. And Napcon's gonna be knocked up. No flash ghost in 3 seconds. It's not going to matter. Lord Beach gonna pick it up. Truly deserved there, as he is now, you know, the practitioner in this lane now. He is firmly taking control. He's going to feel happy about it. As we see the Pit and Knighton possibly look for something onto Stratty. We're going to jump right on top of him. He does have his ultimate. Is it even going to be needed? Yes, yeah, he's actually going to decide. There we go. Now he throws it there. He's going to be knocked up. Knighton going to be able to pick that up with the tornado. As Stratty going to fall down as well. As once again, bot lane 1v1. Ripped actually up a level, but Comet still playing MF. Still really good into the 1v1. Does have that Bloodthirster.
Yeah, absolutely. Some chaos all over the Rift, but firmly now the game is in the hands of Syndicate. Again, it's almost a 2k gold Lilia. The gold gap, not too crazy elsewhere. It's a couple hundred for each character. Again, very close in, or the support as the next most, which is I think a little interesting. But it's more of the state of the game. Yep, there we go. We do see the feat of strength get secured by Syndicate, as well as they take that first turret in mid lane, which is massive for them. They continue to have the advantage on jungle priority. Losing that mid lane and the top lane turrets as well is going to make it a real problem for jungler Bertol. That gap could easily become even wider. And Rip to the Max, like you said, is now officially going to start coming online. 4-2-2. They found the kills that they need. A level above the MF. The next team fight, if it's not secured by Summit, I don't want to say it's the death nail, but it's definitely going to make it a much more difficult game state for Summit to actually play into.
And Bertol looking for something here. Nice ward. Foresight coming out from bot lane from Syndicate to sniff that one out. Stratty was also walking down to see if they couldn't do anything. He lost his tower, so he doesn't really have much else to do at the current moment. Bertol still seeing if he can't possibly get something here. I doubt it. Rip to the Max, and Knights is playing super safe here. They know they just need to not fall down. They don't need to give over anything. They own the top side of the map. The objective is up. The Pit and Lord Beach currently on to that Shelly here as absolute domination on every objective this game for Syndicate. As in last time, Summit at least was able to get those 3 topside objectives, but now, you know, it's real different. Now it's Syndicate just owning all the objectives.
Yeah, no, that's a real problem. That was the key point that we said that we needed to change from this side. And, you know, they needed to get more objectives, and they've lost more. So it's definitely not a great start. They're definitely struggling a lot more. Again, 11-4. They've lost the feat of strength. They've lost that first Drake, so the Drake stacking has already begun. They have advantage down towards this bottom side. It's definitely a rough situation for them, especially
with the Pit is also here, but same with Bertol. It's going to be a 3v3. Who's going to be able to win out on it? The Pit taking a lot of damage, but here comes the Shark Toss. Not going to be able to quite find its target. Sweep onto Comet. Got a TP coming up from Napquan here. The Pit is taking a lot of damage, but saw by Gap before Comet and Bertol there. A lot of damage going out. Napquan still really high HP. Here comes Stratty. The Pit could be the target here as the Pit is on a rampage. Shotgun going to be the next target, and Lord Beat's going to be able to pick up that one. Stratty, the only one left alive. Not even going to be able to have his ultimate up quite for, you know, this 1v5, and he's still going to be the target. Run between the towers. Lord Beat's going to get the triple hit there. Ace coming out as this game is now completely blown open for Syndicate.
Yeah, no, I mean, Napcon was doing their best to do what they can in that fight, and Gwen was doing a lot of damage. It's just they do not have enough damage in the kit yet to burst down any of these champions, especially with how mobile this Renekton and the Fizz are. They just could not stay on top of them to deal with those heavy damage dealers. And you have Lilia in the mix, just constantly causing problems for them. Notably, Drake is about to come up. I thought maybe I'd just go for a quick Drake hit. They are going to go for the recall. They're going to try to build on that advantage, go back at the items that they need as we start seeing all these champions pick up their first items. In some cases, their second. Renekton already has 2 items in the boots, which is rather scary. It's really scary if you're Napquan right now. But
yeah, as well. Both jungle and the Pit and Vegeta both having 10 chapters in the book right now, so they are feeling real nice about this game so far.
Yeah,
And
it's
Lord Beach
definitely.
to go for an engage into the top side here. Is he going to be able to win this 1v1? Napcon going to be able to pop the ult. Same with Lord Beach. Baritol is into this top side here. He is going to throw the ball and not going to be able to land it once again. One more auto for the stun. Not going to be able to find it. Some fancy footwork from Lord Beach, but Comet and Seeker are now here as Beach is going to walk in, see if he can't do some damage, get out. The bullet time is there. Is going to be able to get a shutdown going over Comet, but the rest of Syndicate onto the boss side are doing this. Atacon are going to be able to pick up this objective. They do get the shutdown from Lord Beach, but the objective going over to Syndicate, they will get the tower. It is going to be shared gold. It will be objective bounty as well. So, I mean, that's what Summit has to do. I guess overload one side of the map, get as much as they possibly can. That's kind of the only play that they see right now. I don't blame them, but see if they might actually be able to get this second tower as well. That'll be another bounty.
Yeah, that'd be another bounty.
Yeah, that's not horrible for Summit at all, given the circumstance of the game.
Yeah, I think it was almost a 8k gold lead that's been dropped down to 4.5, 4.7 to be specific. Again, it's still not a great position for them, but that's a really good response for them. That opens up the entirety of that top side jungle. Quite literally, it's almost the Wild West, as there's only one turret remaining in the top side, and it's on the side of Summit. So it definitely opens it up. It means there's a little bit more chance for roaming, a little bit more chance for these teams to maybe find some opening picks before major team fights, which is exactly what Summit need, because if they try to take a 5v5 right now, while they do have the advantage in terms of the fact that Syndicate don't have a lot of engage right now, there's just so much damage from Lord Beach and Boogie Nerd that doesn't really matter. They can overcome it.
We're going to get a face check right into Stratia. Not much there. Is going to be able to face the trickster right out of that one. As we do see a little bit of an NA ram going on here. We got 4 into the mid lane. Lord Beach is towards the bot side here. As Syndicate just aren't looking for any type of play they can go for. The Shark Toss not going to be able to find its target. But they are just constantly looking for any type of missteps from Summit.
Oh yeah, they want to take this. They have the Otacon buff. They know they have the event. I'm gonna push. It looks like they want this mid tier or tier 2, excuse me.
Yep, they are trying to blow open the map right now. Try to set it up for the rest of the game. They're still up about 5k, so they're still feeling nice with how this game is going. Even after dropping those 2 towers into the top lane, it just brought a little bit of breathing room for Summit. As once again, we just see this deadlock as Boogie Nerd finally heading to the top lane here. Is going to force Stratty to walk up tier 2 answer. He's going to have a standard 1-3-1 here as we still have GA Atacon up. So, I mean, Syndicate are well within their rights to try for something quite crazy here, but looks like not quite, as Boogie Nerd going to go for a huge trade onto Stratty. Does have the Shark Toss. He might look for a solo kill on this next spell rotation. He does have the Ignite up. He does have to be careful though. Stratty did go for the Seraphs. So he does have that big shield ready to be used. It's going to be able to dodge right out of that Shark Toss. The Atacon buff is now weared off here as we're going to caught on the wrong side here. Is he going to come up there? There it is. Baritol possibly looking for something. Is going to engage right onto the pit. But, oh, is actually going to be able to land that Volatos there as here comes Comet Cruise not into the back line here as the pit just gonna do Lilia things, is gonna run away there as Napcon in to the backside onto Rift here. The exhaust gonna come out, flash coming out to Rift. The distance, that's amazing. Shutdown gonna go over to Napcon here as Syndicate has to be careful. They're routed into the wrong side of the map here as Nyson's gonna have to do his best to get his teammates out of here. The pit and Brigadier going to be the target. Splash over. It's gonna be a triple sweep there. Really nice bolt on coming out, but nice stun coming out to the backside from Lord Beast. But Brigadier running really low as same with Seeker. Nice flash, not gonna be enough. Double kill going over to Brigadier as Lord Beast gonna be the next target. It's gonna flash in. Seems to get a kill onto Comet. Is gonna be able to pick that one up. Lord Beast 1v9, not gonna be able to quite find it onto Napquan there, as Knight's gonna be the only one left alive, as it is going to be a 4-for-4 with the top laner from Summit and Syndicate with their support gonna be left alive there, as holy moly, that fight just blew up.
I mean, I said it was gonna be chaos in the top side jungle, and it played out exactly like that. I mean, yeah, really good positioning from the side of Syndicate, constantly spreading them out, constantly having that Lilia come in and hit and run tactics, just constantly putting that burn damage onto the team. Meanwhile, you know, Summit were struggling. They were all clumped up into that one corridor, which meant that they were just able to kind of run rampant. Notably, I think the real turning point for that fight, that it could have gotten a lot worse for Summit, but they managed to get that hook onto the Lilia, hold the Lilia down into that bullet time. That burn went away, a lot of that slow went away as well, and they were able to keep everyone in charge and intact, and Napcon was able to just kind of pick apart what was left. Notably here, we do see the second Drake get taken.
Yeah, Fergie taking a huge quit there, as the pick going to be landed on from the Death Sentence. Does not have the flash up. Is quite fast though, as ripping into Baritol. The bullet is going to land. Death Sentence not quite there. As Lloyd Beach into the backline, doing a lot of damage onto Stratty. As Napcom going to be the next target. The same with Seeker. Seeker is going to fall down. Boogie going to be continuing to look, see if he can't find anything, as it looked like it could have been good for Summit for a little bit there, but Syndicate with superior positioning is going to be able to pick up this Drake. Are now once again on Soul Point, as Summit just very much struggling on these Drake fights in both these games.
Yeah, again, another major objective that gets taken by Syndicate here. And the lead, the kill deficit is a little bit deceptive. It's only about a 5k goal. So 22 to 9 is not a free stat.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it's just gonna get it. I don't think they have any vision here. Yeah, they're thinking it, but there's really nothing.
No, Comet's gonna be fenced here by Lord B. Stratty is there, but so is Baritol, but Comet's just gonna fall down. Lord B's gonna try to be the target here, but the rest of Syndicate is rallying here. Finally picking up that lantern is gonna be able to bring Baritol to safety there, as it looked like Comet caught out, Knights in there, but Lord Beach able to come to the rescue for his support, and even with Stratty there, it's not enough, as, I mean, this Renekton, from that very early play, was able to at least consistently keep up his lead. He's not so astronomically ahead against this Gwen. I don't think he would be able to just straight up tower diver or have extreme prior over her in a 1v1, but still that doesn't matter, because in the team fights, he is making it up by just absolutely showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. They're coming up massive here. And now that goal lead continues to extend. We're at the point now, much like in the last game, where it's all about the win condition. What can they do? They picked up the Baron, so they already have that sieging potential, and they're already going to do a lot better at it than they did in the last game. They have control of the jungle. We're seeing the siege come through here. Napcon's going to do what they can to try to hold this top turret. I think they will, just barely. But yeah, it is all about waiting out the time. If you're Summit, trying to wait out this Baron buff, hold as much as you can while trying to keep them at bay.
First start toss, get a win on Seeker, just trying to get this turret here, but Boogie Nerd, he is just so aggressive. Oh. He wants more pages to his book there, as we see an engage coming out. Boogie Nerd into the backline, sweep onto 2. But a lot of damage coming out. The bullet time going to rip through the backside here. This could be bad for Syndicate here. Rip going to be the next target, double kill, but it's not going to matter. It is going to get, it's going to be Berkey. Oh, the explosion from Cosma, and will be Rip picking that one up. What a big, string of emotions there. It looked good for Syndicate, then it looked good for Summit, just for it to look good for Syndicate into the end there. A lot of death timers coming out. Napcon, the only one left alive. Mid inhib going to be broken open by Boogie Nerd here, as Napcon has to make a decision. Where does he go? Does he try to get this kill? And looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. He is going to be able to pick that one up, at least being able to get that shutdown for his team. I mean, once again, Napcon the only one left alive on his team here, as, I mean, he really is the pillar for this team right now. Like, he has to be able to, like, find things either in these side lanes or into these team fights, as I think he, is, I won't say the most rich, but the most ability to be able to play into this comp by himself. As Comet is strong. He has 3.5 items. It's just, it's really hard when you have a Fizz constantly jumping onto you, into this matchup. Normally, it would be a problem, but with how far ahead Syndicate is, Syndicate just doesn't care. They're just, they're tower diving. As we saw, it could be bad for Syndicate, but it didn't end up mattering there towards the end there. Boogie being able to just barely ink out the kill there, but Napcon be able to answer the way, again, making it a 4-for-4.
Oh yeah, and I mean that massive 2-man sweep as well coming out from the Lilia was huge. And you're absolutely right. Napcon is kind of,
this is not where you want to be. Force the flash here. Destined to
Nope.
flash, and there it is. The bullet also going to be there. They're going to catch out the support. TP coming out from Lord Beach as the Pit going to see if he can't find anything onto Comet Cruiser, but Comet Cruiser going to be able to get out of that with the blast plant. A freebie for Summit there when they need it most. And the ult also coming out from Lord Beach, so who knows? Maybe Summit might be able to take away something here. It was, you know, the ult coming out from Bertol and Naquan. Seeker is down as well, but we still have the shockwave up from Stratty. Stun coming out. Syndicate, even though down a player, is still looking very strong and very confident right now. As Naquan going to go for a little bit of a trade here. Lizzie going to go for a short trade, going to dash right out. He does have the upgraded boots as, oh my gosh, that damage. Seeker taking a lot as the Pit gonna be the on the wrong side of the map here. A lot of damage coming out from Comet Cruiser here as the flash coming out. Then to the top side, Napcon taking a lot of damage from Boogie Nerd as well. The Pit going to live, ripping the towers right now as Rita gonna be stunned up with the death sentence. It's gonna be a jump away with the trick there, but it's not going to matter. Rip to the max is gonna be the next target here. As Napcon looking for Rip, looking for a trade kill. It's gonna try to flash, not gonna be able to find it. Double kill going over Napcon. Once again, the Lantern Throw not going to be picked up, but still, Napcon has a dash of his own, going to be able to get right out of that one. Even though picking up the Nexus Tower, I would still say Summit wants that, as Nexus Towers do take only 3 minutes to respawn here. As Summit, if they could just continue holding on, this might be a chance for a comeback.
I mean, yeah, they're closing that gap. Very notably, though, they need way to deal with this Lilia. And the Lilia has been a problem the entire time. Almost a 4K.
Go on to Comet. It's going to be forced to flash, not be able to get the slice and the dice here. Flash coming out, Comet Cruiser to knock up there. There's the Lantern finally picking that up.
There we go.
Now, as we see, Destin is going after Knights in there as Lord Beach is going to be the next target. 1v4, can he do it again? Going to try to get into Comet Cruiser, not going to be enough. Destin is there. And there he falls down. Napcon going to pick up that one. He is now godlike. Drake is now spawning here. This is going to be Elder picked up most likely for Summit as they're looking for the comeback here. This is looking more and more possible as we get later into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. These hooks coming out from Seeker are massive for them, and they are going to send Napquan out to do a little bit of scouting, maybe try to divert them, but they're going to try to go for this steal. They're going to try to take it.
That is going to be able to pick up barely by Seeker. It looks kind of close there. A Destined that's going to be able to land, but Boogie does have the Banshee. He's going to get 1v4. I don't think that's quite what you want. He's going to fall down your playful Trickster. Just one more auto. As into the back line, the Pit going to be able to find a kill onto Seeker. I mean, that's a consolation prize. You just lost your mid laner. Baron is up 48 seconds onto your mid. They might just look for the Baron play here. As they have Elder, you can't really fight into that. Boogie isn't there. You don't have the damage you need as the Pit going, you know, to bot lane to try to see if he can't pick up this inhib. He might be able to pick it up as Stratty looking for a solo kill here as he's got to be careful of himself, but he does have the Seraph. He does have the shield. Just one more ability and Stratty's going to be able to pick up that one as into the top side. Pick up that Baron as Summit is going to be wearing purple as, oh my goodness, what is happening? That gold lead was close to 8k, is now down to 2.6. The Nexus turret about to spawn in about 45 seconds. Syndicate finding themselves in a precarious situation. Summit happy with how things are going on as everyone's getting their item spikes now, and this is now just about who can team fight better.
Yeah, absolutely. We're also starting to get to the point where Renekton is going to start falling off and Gwen is going to start coming online. Orianna is also starting to make that real big climb in terms of damage here, as we already saw with them taking on Boogie Nerd.
Once again, gonna try to go onto Napcon. He is gonna go golden there. If that stays through Shark Toss, make sure he can stay alive as Knightson possibly gonna be picked out here. He does have the here. Bola barely going to miss. How many X-Smithy ults am I gonna see this game? As Tower, Tier 2 mid tower is gonna be the next target. Not quite having the wave just quite yet, as their Elder buff is about to fall off here in about 30 seconds as it is now a 5v5. It is going to be sweep on two of the carries here, but a good play back here as we see just an absolute clump up here, but Comet Cruiser not going to be able to find the bullet time he needs as Lord Beat's going to be in the middle. Of course, it's not going to matter. Elder is just too damn strong. Double kill going over to Napcon here as the bot lane is Syndicate, the only one left alive. As this might be an end angle. Are we going to see a game 3?
This could be an end angle. They have the time. They have the timers. Main problem is there's no wave They only have this 1 minute though. Wave is coming through, but the
His
timers
long
are
death
ticking.
timers, 30, 36, and 38 seconds respectively. Ripped to the max. Does have 3.5 items. Is trying to get towards that Jack show once again. And to see if they're going to be able to pull this off. Elder Drake has now just fallen. Another minute, 5 seconds for Baron. But it looks like, are they still going to go for it? Yes,
No,
Summit
go for it.
can still go
We're gonna
for it.
go.
They still have 10 seconds here, doing a lot of damage here. Ripped to the max, has to do his best. Finally lands the bullet. A nice death sentence. No flash and ripped to the max. Ripped to pieces as Knight is going to lose his Squire here, and it's going to be Summit picking up game number 2. We're going to a game 3. Finally.
Holy,
Wow.
okay. Wow.
Not what I
Win
was
in
expecting.
dramatic fashion. I mean, you can say it was kind of handed to him by Syndicate. Syndicate were just kind of running it in at certain times and were giving over kills. But at that point, if you're Summit, you take that. You take any misplays that Syndicate take, and they not only took them, they capitalized on it. They turned it into Elder. They turned it into Baron. They made that last team fight into their image. They found the kills that they needed. The bullet time came out to just enough damage. I do want to point out Seeker towards the end there. While he was missing a lot of hooks, the hooks he hit were crazy. They were the exact right targets in the exact right moments to lock him down. He kept hitting the Lilia. He kept getting the Kog'Maw, taking these big damage dealing threats off the board, and they just waited it out. Like I said, Renekton fell off hard. Renekton was not doing enough in those final fights. And at that point, Napquan was able to just run in and chunk them down. So even if they were able to deal with the MF, they couldn't deal with the Gwen. Craziness from Summit to turn that back into their favor and close it out.
I find it funny because exactly what happened this game is kind of the inverse from last game, right? Where
Yeah.
Summit was in the lead, very much in the lead early game last game, but Syndicate still ended up winning well. This game, Syndicate was well within the lead, for the majority of this game, just for Summit to end up winning, right? So they literally did to Syndicate what Syndicate did to them in game 1, which is absolutely hilarious. And I mean, finally, first game 3 for the broadcast here. As I mean, it's awesome, right? Because both these teams just look competitive to each other.
Oh,
So I don't
absolutely.
know
I mean,
who is the favorite to win at this point.
yeah, and I mean, there was a time there where it looked like Syndicate was just going to take it. They were looking for win. But when you have a team like Summit who, in that like final grasps moment, they just dig in deep and find what they need to hold that like Hodor, holding that door shut, not letting them in, doing what they can, finding the kills. I liked what Syndicate was doing where they were spreading out the damage on the top towards the Nexus, constantly putting pressure on all 3 lanes. But that meant they were just able to be closed down and be targeted one by one, and that allowed someone to just stay in, and that just grit and just nothing but strength of will to outlast their opponent. I mean, that turned in maybe 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
they were kind of in it, but it was still like, oh, maybe going. But yeah, no, it was quick, but Summit capitalized on the mistakes. We are going to be going to game number 3. So the craziness does not stop here. Again, Syndicate 1-1, looking for a bounce back after a loss of week 2. Meanwhile, Summit 0-2. They want to secure their first win of the split, and they do so, or they take it to game 3 in glorious fashion. Don't go anywhere. Game 3 is coming up soon. You don't want to miss it.
Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to game three, finally, against Syndicate and Summon Esports here, as we're already in to all the bands here. First pick coming out is going to be the Amumu, Lulu, Jinx, Nocturne band, Shaco, and Leona band as well here, as we're not gonna see the Kog'Maw this time.
Yeah, no Kog'Maw. We do get the Lulu ban, we get the Jinx ban, Shaco and Leona. So it looks like it is going to be the same what's it called?
Oh,
The same
oh my
strategy
gosh,
there.
there it goes. They heard me. They're
Yeah.
like, no, 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 no. And there's still gonna be a Kog'Maw this game.
Yeah. I
Here we
do think,
go.
just for clarification, I do think the teams are technically on the wrong side. Napquan, the pit are all in Syndicate. So do not be confused by that. That's also why Summit looks like they have -1 ban. It's actually Syndicate on the right side. But we are seeing the Cogwell
That
come
that
out back
makes
to back.
sense. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Ilio.
new Enchanter.
Yep. But we
That
have
didn't
Lily
work
number
out. Go
two.
to the next one.
There we go. The MF once again gonna be picked up as well for comment. As I mean, he piloted it really well. Did well into the
Yeah.
Kog'Maw from Syndicate. So I mean, Ripped gonna be looking to possibly see if he can't get another early lead once again. It is going to be the Braum as well as triple Kog'Maw. I'm just sat on that thought, and we're gonna see the Lilia again. Wow. So I
I
mean,
mean,
Syndicate
yeah.
just keeping roughly to the same thing that that they've been doing. I mean, it worked somewhat last game, but I mean that comp was illegal. It shouldn't have won. It didn't win. It got close there, but
Oh
Summit be
yeah.
able to eke out right at the end there, but we're seeing a little bit of difference with Demilio instead of the Janna, which I kind of like. I think Milio is way better with the
I
Kog'Maw, so
agree.
Milio perfect into the Braum and Amumu as well. So good adaptation as from Syndicate.
Yeah, absolutely. But adaptation is not the name of the game when it comes to the bans. Is yet again we see that Camille go away. I really hope they don't pick a very similar comp that they did last time because that
Renekton
Camille
and
would be a really
Ray.
good pick for them. But they banned it away themselves. The Renekton does go. The Ari does go as well. That seems like it's been a target ban. All three games. I actually think this list of four bans from Syndicate haven't changed at all this entire series. So they know what they don't want to come up against.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, Summit are banning to what their opponents are playing. So very interesting here, but see if they stick with the same strategy. Like you said, they pretty much already
Yeah,
almost one for one. The only change out has been the Milio for the Jana, which I agree. Milio is far more like Lulu, maybe just a little bit less aggressive in nature. You see
Silas gonna be
Silas.
picked up here. I
That
mean, Mumu R is good. Braum R is not too bad. MFR can be good
yeah.
in these situations. They're holding that prior pick over to top side. So let's see if Beach can actually make use of that there.
Yeah, I
As
also do think. Oh, go for it.
as both games, I mean, even though Beach was kind of ahead and towards the mid game there onto the Renekton, like early game, Notquan was still well within the lead. And Prio, and for game one, I mean, we all saw what happened topside in that game. So I feel like both games in a row, we have seen Napquan kind of win out in the laning phase. So I wonder if they're hoping that if they can get Prio and counter into the top side for Beach, that like hopefully like, hey, he can go even or maybe even eke out a win because if we can somehow put Napcon in an uncomfortable situation, we'll just win the game. As we see Rise and Yone coming out. So I'm guessing that's a Yone top and a Rise mid, but who knows? It could be a Rise top as well.
It could
It,
be.
it could be a
Uh,
flex, right? For whatever they
it
see
could.
up into the top lane.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rise Top is a thing. It was in meta. No, it was in like a couple months ago. So that is still a viable pick. And of course, just because something drops out of the meta doesn't mean that it's not a good pick. It just means it's not the most effective. They
Aatrox.
do pick the Aatrox. I would imagine that leads us to see the Yone Aatrox combo up top with the Rise and the Silas in the mid lane. I do actually really like that Silas pick for the first pick for the second round, simply because that does put Summit kind of in a spot where you want to pick champions that you want on your team, but if you pick a champion that has a massive game changing ult, you just know that your opponents are going to have it too. So I think it was a really good pickup. I think the Aatrox is going to do pretty steady in lane. I mean, the Yone Aatrox is pretty even. I've seen it go back and forth many a times. I don't think either one particularly wins out. So I think it does come just down to skill and comfortability with the champions. Um, yeah, I definitely think top lane is a situation.
Um, I mean, we're running into the same issue with one of these comps. No engage.
Yeah.
Once again. Um, so that's gonna be a little bit of a
The,
problem, and
yeah,
2 games in a row.
the only thing I could really think of is the Silas stealing like a Yone the for engage, but that becomes very dependent
Yeah, it's very
on
niche.
who's in the fight. You put the pressure on what the opponents bring in, which is not what you want. That's not going to be a stable source of engage. I do agree. Though we did see them really rely the Lilia, like a lot. Typically, we would see that Lilia go for the bowling ball and find like one or two. And the moment you would see, like as they were propositioning for the fight, you would see them immediately get slept, and that was the trigger that you knew, okay, the fight's starting. So they were really relying on that Lilia for that sleep. Obviously, not great early because they don't have it until level 6. Um, and again, if that goes wide, they don't find what they need. They're reliant on the Silas, who's reliant on who else is in the fight. So definitely going to be a problem. But I think they're just going to try to rely on what they did last time, where it's we think we're better, we're just going to beat them in the face,
Run it
and
back,
hope
right?
that hope that even though we're going to have a bad engage because there's not really one to begin with, we'll just win the fight out anyway, which did well until it didn't. But yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely let's see. I'm curious on the adaptations that they're gonna bring into this
Mhm.
game, right? Facing the same situation. I mean, they put themselves in the situation twice here, and I'm just, curious to see how it's going to go because I actually do favor Summit's comp here.
Yeah, I
Way
would agree.
more. It's a lot
I
more consistent. It has a lot more answers to like what they need to do as a win con.
Yeah, they really wanted to play around that bullet time last game, and they obviously weren't able to do so as much because there was the Fizz, who just kept jumping on them. I don't think they're gonna have as much problem with Silas in that regard. Silas is just not quite as mobile as the Fizz, though very mobile. I just don't think to the same extent. But that combination of having the Yone ultimate, the stun from the Mumu, that Braum ult as well, I think there's a lot of possibility to chain CC the side of Syndicate and just have them eat bullet times one after another. Which, if they can get ahead in bot lane, that could be really devastating, and that could easily turn the tide of not just a fight but of a game in general. So I would agree. I think I really lean towards Summit's team composition here. I think the game plan is really solid, and I think it's very clear what they want to go for. Um, I think it's going to be very dependent on Syndicate taking team fights and winning them, which again, it's the
They
it's
did it
going to
last
be
time,
reliant on their
so
skill. Yeah, it's going to be very reliant on their ability to team fight and how they do starting off at a bit of a deficit because they are not going to be the ones that find that first engage. They're going to start on the back foot almost every. They're going to have to win all of them despite that deficit.
yeah, and I think they're kind of like a bit in the comfort zone with again drafting the Kog'Maw here,
Mhm.
once again for the third time in a row. To kind of just like expect that like yeah they're gonna be playing into us. That's kind of like the whole thing. We're just gonna kind of sit back and chill. But getting caught up and being fine with that is a bit of a problem because then your win con is so obvious. So if Summit Esports can put two to two together and be like, hey, this is kind of the same thing from last time. If we can just kind of survive into the early game, we can just come out and win like we did this time. But ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go ahead, head into an intermission for the spectator delay. Game number 3 between Syndicate and Summit Esports is coming right up. You're not gonna want to miss it. All right, everybody, welcome back to game number 3 between Summit and Syndicate here. Summit on the blue side, Syndicate onto the red, and we are looking to hopefully have a banger of a third game here as Summit looking for their first win, Syndicate looking to hopefully not being able to be tied up from a winless team here as we see all 5 of the Summit members running back to the mid lane here. And
Yeah,
let's see,
and
do we see level 1 Fiesta?
I
Oh,
think
see the
they're gonna
Q land. The dash is coming
try.
out. The bandage toss not going to quite land. One more auto for the stun. Are we going to be able to see it? Flash coming out from Boogie Nerd to make sure he gets out of that one safely. Gets the flash there. And do I see a level 3-4 gank coming out from Baritone to this mid range?
Yeah, that is going to also cause a bit of a recall there from Boogie Nerd set. I don't think it's going to cause too much disruption to the actual jungle clear. It should get there in just about the right amount of time. Pretty much everyone else is just scouting out Lord Beach there. You can see trying to see if they can spot any wards. Very, very aggressive stance coming out from the side of Rip to the Max and Nitian as they're pushed all the way up, maybe trying to catch Common and Seeker off guard.
Knight's gonna find Seeker there, is gonna be able to pop that bone point and get a little bit of damage there. Rip's gonna back off as well. Knight does not have either of his buff spells in level 1, so then again, the level 1 W is really strong from this Kog'Maw. The same can be said if Misfortune can land that too, as we see Seeker walking up for a lot of damage coming out though. One more auto for the stun, I don't think it's gonna matter. As not Rip just, not afraid at all. The same with Knight. They're definitely ready to go mano a mano here into this 2v2 matchup. Do we see the level 2 advantage coming out once again? Yes, we do. Seeker and Comet getting that as going to the mid lane. Have a little bit of a pressure advantage from Boogie here, but this is actually kind of good for Summit. He doesn't have flash, so having him play up is definitely what they would want. We'll see if Barrett's going to try to go for anything early, try to abuse the fact that Boogie had to use Flash level 1 there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to put him a bit on the back foot, even if that doesn't affect his clear really all that much, as they are pretty much even, maybe a little bit faster. That is going... excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong person. Sorry, it's not affecting them in lane all that much, but it does make them really susceptible to that gank. Which can be nice, especially as it seems like bot and top lane are going to be pretty neutral. I mean, this bot lane has been neutral to start every single one of these games up until the first real big team fight. And this top side of Aatrox and Yone is just going to be the two of them smacking each other around and not getting a lot of kills in the process. So they're going to really, both teams want to put some emphasis on this mid lane.
I also want to point out that Baritol is extremely behind on his clear. So he started the Q for the invade, which very bad clear speed for a Mumu, and Lilia having one of the faster clears into the jungle is already on that scuttle right now, as Baritol is just now getting onto his red, so he is very much behind and a lot of time for the pit to be able to go around and do what he wants. As we see him possibly going for an invade on or gank onto this bot side here. Sorted is going to land there. Really good unbreakable shield there from Seeker to keep his ADC alive. Seeker, though, has to be careful himself. The burn not quite enough there. We'll have to burn the flash from both the bot laners here from Summit, while no subs expended over for Syndicate, as very successful gank from the pit there.
Very much so. That's a lot for not a lot in return. That's going to make this bot lane constantly have to worry about getting ganked, so they're not going to be as aggressive, and that is really good. As Drake is about to come up, it is going to be a Hex Tech, so it's not going to be the Hex Tech Soul, which is a bit of important information, seeing as it's a really good Drake to get.
Trade there. A lot of healing coming out with that W there, and also getting the level advantage as well. Shotty just now hitting level 5. Perfect time for Boogie Nerd to go for a trade there. Is going to be able to win out on it. Potion still up for Stratty though, as Napcon going to go in for a little bit of an engage onto Lloyd Beach there, as we seem to have a little bit of a disconnection issue going on for a Knight there. I'm sure that it won't take that long to get out of this pause, hopefully.
knock on wood. But overall, looking at the game state, it is actually rather even across the board. Obviously, there's been a couple trades. There is some advantage right now. This Yone has really kept the lead in terms of constantly pushing on the Aatrox. But besides that, every other lane has pretty much been trading back and forth. Um, yeah, it looks like we are about to get back in. So luckily, again, knocking on wood. We are not held up too long. But yeah, game state, everything is pretty equal. Hextech Drake is up. Grubs are just 1 minute out. So first major objectives coming on the board is gonna be really interesting to see who gets them because honestly, we need to see Summit start securing these objectives. If they can get a Drake, it would be wonderful. It'd be the first Drake they get that's not Elder this series.
TP coming back to mid here. Stratty also needs to get a reset himself. The pit is going to find out. Baruto is going to be able to steal that away, but Napquan is here. He's going to have to be careful. Banditron's about to come up here for Baruto. Is going to be able to land it. Seeker's also here. Flash not going to be used there in the way that the pit wants, and that is going to be first blood going to go over to Napquan. He's going to be real happy about that one. He's just going to go straight right onto Lord Beach here as is gonna be able to dodge out of that Q3 there. Is gonna do quite a bit of damage for both top laners here. Potion gonna come out from the refillable from Lord Beach, so he's gonna feel happy about that. Level 6 advantage onto Napcon. I don't think it's gonna last that much longer as level 6 is also gonna be picked up from Lord Beach from one more minion. So relatively even top lane so far, but Seeker is looking. Bertel is walking up. Comet by himself once again. As it looks like they're definitely posturing for something here. He's gonna have to be careful, and there he goes. He does have the flash up. Is Berto gonna be able to land the bandage toss? He would have if it wasn't for the flash there from Beach to keep him alive. They do know that Comet is by himself. The pit is going to start up. These grubs is going to be able to pick up the first one here. As Stratty is into the backline here. Really good ult pickup from the Silas. He's going to be able to get 3, but not before the jungler falls down. He's going to fall down as well. Seed of Warfare going to go over to Summit as he's going to be the next target here. He's way too late to this party as Summit is going to be able to pick up a 4-0 lead here as I mean, they're not going to be able to get all 3 of the grubbies, but they'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. That is massive for them. And that puts them firmly in the lead. 2.5k gold lead. Right now, Yone now has an advantage. 2-0-2 is massive. Again, that's a pretty even top lane. So getting that extra gold onto the Yone is going to be massively beneficial as that will put it into their favor. That also does put Barental in a good position as well. So this top side between the jungle and the top laner is going to look very scary. And they were able to pick up the grubs. If they can keep this momentum, we could see them. They need to take this to Drake, honestly. I cannot express how much they need to get jungle objectives this game. I keep coming back to thinking, man, they need to push this onto a Drake or at least be able to secure it, maybe take a fight. And it looks like both teams are aware that both of them want it. Both are positioning for a possible.
Yep, Napcon currently have Cryo into this lane. Not surprising considering how, the last 8 minutes of this game has go. Knight is going to be looking to be a little bit of a target here. Not much is really going to be able to be found. They knew Baritol is into the bot side here. The pit is also into this bot side as well. Ult picked up from Boogie Nerd from the Rise. Is going to be able to go into any play that he pleases with that transportation ability. Is currently getting outranged by Stratty right now. Is going to use it to try to get out of it. He knows he's in a bad spot. Is going to have to burn the ultimate there just for himself to make sure that he doesn't fall down any more HP. And a big wave being shoved under from Stratty as a lot of cryo both in the mid and bot for Summit as once again Boogie has to be careful. Gonna take even more damage and finally a Drake gonna go over to Summit. About time, right?
That is massive for them. That's exactly what they did the first one of the series. It's gonna go their way.
No vision in that bush is going to save him as Napcon have to be careful here. World Ender is going to be popped. Looking to end the world of Napcon. Going to be forced to flash. He does have his art as well, but not the flash to for that Q2 flash, unfortunately for Lord Beach, but is going to be able to beat out Napquan into this lane when Napquan's actually up quite a bit of gold on him. Napquan going to be forced to recall, doesn't have TP. Lord Beach going to be able to shove this wave under. It is going to bring this lane back close to even.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good response coming out from Lord Beach. Again, this combination of champions, this is kind of the definition of the wet and the fights that we see up on top lane, where neither one really have an advantage, just beat each other to death slowly over time. And at one point, there'll be a team fight where one of them will get the definitive advantage. But both right now are holding pretty steady. A little bit of damage, but nothing too crazy. I do want to point out these two bot laners, the ADCs, so even right now. A little bit of a CS and gold lead over towards Comet, but they have stayed so careful despite the fact that Seeker's been roaming and looking for those opening picks. The Milio as well has been trying to find some sort of advantage. Neither one of these ADCs want to give an inch, and you can see it as neither one have really taken the advantage quite yet. Both are afraid of falling behind.
And Rip's looking for that moment where he can just get a bad play from Summit and just get like a couple free kills like he has for the last 2 games. Yeah. He's literally looking for that Eureka moment once again. He has not been able to find it quite yet, as Grubbies is about to spawn here into the top side. Both supports here, and Napquan going to go for a trade onto Beach here. Is doing a lot of damage. Knock up there. Ooh. Below half HP. Beach not in a good spot right now as Grubbies are about to spawn here, as looks like they're going to try to get mid prio. Maybe. Yep, there he goes. Barrett's going to start walking back up. See if he cannot get anything there. A lot of damage going on here. Bullet time, force the flash. There's the barrier as well. Comet is going to love those trades, as finally the objective is going to be started up for Summit onto these Grubbies here. As I mean, I don't know if Syndicate even wants to try for this. They're definitely looking for it, but yeah, I think they're just going to give it over. They can't really do anything about it.
Yeah, no, but that is massive. That's the first 3 major jungle objectives going over Summit. They're also 4-0 up. They have lost a little bit of that gold that they accumulated. They think they were at like 2.5. They're now down to 2. But this, by far, I think is the most stable.
And see if he can go on to Comet here. Gonna have to be careful. He is down both his summoners. Comet is up both here. But
oh no.
He has the rest of his team here. He's gonna miss. Not gonna matter. Boogie Nerd gonna be able to take out Comet Cruiser there, as so long with so many people not on the map, as he's got to be careful, as Napquan gonna maybe possibly could have looked for something there if he pressed his R. You know, try to seal the fate of Lord Beach, but doesn't want to be a little too over-aggressive there. He is firmly in control into this top lane right now. He is actually down CS, though, from Beach, from that little play he did earlier. Seeker trying to hold this wave for his ADC support. I love it when they do that. That's non-stop with this aggression.
Trying. Yeah, he's aggressively trying to find a kill onto this Aatrox. I mean, being able to do a 3-0-2 is going to immensely help his odds, because even with him being having the gold advantage, he's still struggling to close out, you know, this fight up in the top lane.
Syndicate coming up in about a minute, Shelly as well. So both of these objectives going to be up roughly at the same time here. So pick and choose from what these teams want to play for, as Comet taking a lot of damage. Nice jump into the Seeker to nullify a lot of that damage. Stratty and Boogie going to go for a typical trade pattern here. Boogie with the sustainability, though, with his W, is going to be able to win out on that. Finally reset coming out from Napquan to hopefully possibly pick up his first item. No, not quite yet. And let's see here. Honestly, if you're Syndicate, you're fine with this game state right now. Like, you are totally fine with how, like, losing that play into the top side, how things have stabilized. The gold lead has dropped down even more. It was about 2.5k. Is now about 1.8, 1.7, so almost dropped about 1,000 here. So Syndicate in a pretty good spot right now, even though contrary to what kind of happened into the top side here. Drake is going to be spawning in about 8 seconds here. as Baritol and Seeker constantly looking and seeking for a play here. Again, once again, Napcon into the top side to see if he can't find any type of engage onto Beach, see if he can't get a health lead here, but Beach doing a really good job of trading back as Seeker now looking for something onto the pit. He's going to be forced a flash here. Bullet time being ripped out. Nice flash out for Baritol, and the pit is going to fall down. I think going to be the next target. It is going to fail flash. That's not what you want to see. A double kill going over to Baritol. And that is what you want to see if you are a Summit fan. Drake is up. That is most likely going to be the next target for them. Rip to the max, not being able to do what he needs to do and dish damage out to the carries onto Summit there, as that was just really well played by Summit, as Boogie Nerd going to go into strategy here, going for an engage, but he doesn't have any more mana. Napcon going to go onto Beach here as well. Does have the Bork. Is he going to be able to pick up the kill? Yes, he can! Sealing the fate of Lord Beach, finally going to be able to pick up that solo kill after all these close calls. Drake going to go over to Summit. Everything is just Summit, Summit, Summit right now in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely massive there from them. And I mean, that's exactly what we wanted to see. That was exactly what the team comp was built around. I was talking about how the bullet time is the item, that like trophy to build around. They wanted to find a way of keeping them in that ultimate. They found it with that stacking of ults there towards the bottom side. Meanwhile, Napquan up on top is finally able to get some sort of a lead, maybe a little bit of an over push from Lord Beach. Does result in them falling. That is going to give them a level lead. That also puts the gold lead at 1.4 thousand. So that is a nice healthy gold bonus. It also gives them advantage, though we do need to worry about the fact that they might be getting a bounty here soon, so they'll start hunting for him. But besides that, right now Summit on a real good spot. They picked up most of the major objectives. They figured out and secured the turret, so they already got the feat of strength, but they are going to pick up the Rift Herald as well. 2 Drakes in the back pocket. Atacon is going to be up on the top side, which is where they have the advantage with Napquan. So right now, game state wise, it could not be going much better for Summit. They are feeling good at this point in the game.
Yeah, they're happy where they're at right now. They are definitely in the driver's seat right now. They have the prio into the top lane. They have the prio into the mid lane. This is okay. When I say that, Shadi is going to be engaged on by Knight and is going to use his R to get away. Don't even think it was needed, but just to be better safe than sorry. But also prio into the bot lane, as MF just does a really good job at just clearing out these waves. Does really good into the 1v1, especially with that bloodthirsty guard. Rip is not hugely behind, but he's definitely hasn't gotten ahead like he has in the previous games. Like I said, he's been looking for those free 2 to 3 kills that Summit has given him the last 2 games, and they have not done it this game. So Rip is nowhere near as strong as he has been. As another jump into the mid tier, and did hit him with the passive, but the pit not going to want to pull the Sleeping Lullaby out there. Definitely doesn't want to force things when they're down about 4k gold. They're just going to try to scale up a little bit before they do anything too crazy.
Yeah, and that is going to be a massive buff for them there, as they do take that first tier 1 turret, or the tier 1 turret, excuse me, on mid lane. So that's going to open up that top side jungle, as the top side tier 1 is also gone. So it is pretty much free reign and Wilder up on that top side red side. That's not amazing for Syndicate. Losing control of the jungle at this point in the game is very rough. Luckily, there's no counter jungling coming out quite yet. But if they continue to get pushed on, especially on that bot lane, if they lose that tier 1, they're going to really struggle to have control, especially as we start getting to the later game and we just starting to see teams fight for the Drake Soul, and we're going to start getting the Baron here soon. So losing all your tier 1s this early is not amazing for them.
Summit is going to be pushed back by Knight. Rip's going to try, not going to do it fine when he's not close enough. It's not trying to really deep in a 1v1 here. QC going to miss out. Same with the QC from the Yone. Not going to be able to get that knock up. It's just going to be about an even trade there. As Scotty once again is trying to just duel up with Boogie Nerd. As Boogie Nerd's going to have to be a little bit careful. He does have the Seraph. He does have the Rod. But even with the sustainability, Rise is still Rise. Give him enough time, he will do enough damage, forces a reset out of Boogie, does have the TP, so he can just come right back, but every lane has a gold lead. Probably a pretty substantial one, too.
Yeah. Weirdly, the biggest is of the ADC. Again, they're just
Gonna once again go for this. Is gonna dash right out of that W. A lot of damage coming out to Lord Beach. Lord Beach gonna, you know, respond in kind as Napcon gets the K4, does have the flash, does have the ult, is gonna use the flash to get out of there to make sure he stays alive. There's a lot of resources into the top side from Syndicate. See if Summit can do anything on that front. Drake is coming up in about 30 seconds, Otacon in 20.
Yeah, absolutely. But these ADCs, again, are continuing just trying to play the safe. Neither one want to give an advantage. And at this point, it's probably a good thing for Summit. I mean, we've seen how deadly this Cogmal can be. So the fact that they're keeping it in check is a massive boon for them, as it does look like both teams want to fight for this Drake.
Oh, Flash Bandit Charge here, following up with the Q from Seeker. It's going to force the flash on a Knight and the heal. So Baritol did have to use his flash, did not expend the ultimate though. Both stuns out from Knight. Don't know if it's worth quite yet. We're about to find out. A Seeker tagging the pit there. Another tag onto Knight is about half HP there. Drake is now spawned here. See if they can't pick up so point. Beginning into the backlines. We look at the front, a really big goal time, but it's not going to do enough damage at once. As Brukino going to see if he can't find what he needs. Flash coming out from Comet Cruiser to make sure he can get out from Cogmal. Ultimate, the pit going to be able to pick up that kill with the burn here as the stun coming out. Double stun coming out on Rip to the max. He's going to be ripped to pieces by Seeker, but a lot of damage coming out from the pit. Swinging around his staff. Going to do a lot, picking up a triple kill as a flank ult coming out from Stratty. Can he find the damage? Can he do enough? Here comes Napcon. Flash not going to be enough. Quadra kill going over to the Lilia here. Lord Beach into the top side by himself to pick up this tower. Can he do it? Just one more auto. Yes, he can. 300 gold richer to him as he's going to fall down to the minions. But he got the turret. Hashtag worth, as definitely not a bad fight if you're a Syndicate fan.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, getting 4 there, it so easily could have gone way, but the fact that they were able to target down and remove Comet from that fight was massive for them, because there just wasn't enough damage. I mean, between the Amumu, the Rise, Prom, there was just not enough damage to really do much against the pit as they just kind of ran around. I did like the flank play, but again, in a 1v2, it was real rough, but they are going to try to re-secure this Drake, and it looks like with how quickly they are bursting this down, it is going to be theirs. They're going to secure the second. And it looks like we might see a little bit of skirmishing, but I don't know if we're going to get a full-on team fight.
Yeah, we have yet to find like a straight up like 5v5. Napcon was late to that fight. Lord Beach just ended up staying top. So when we see that happen, that's going to be the true test of skills here, as Napcon going to spot out Boogie Nerd. Not much is really going to happen there, but nice 4v4. It started to look good for Summit, but Syndicate did a real good job. The pit being able to pick up a Quadrico. He was 0-3 before that, by the way. So he's definitely going to feel real happy about that. He completely shifted the gold lead to his favor from Baritol, so he is now firmly back into this game.
Yeah, Otacon is going to be up. It's going to be really the only major objective that is available. A little bit of presence from Syndicate there, but I don't know if they're going to go for it. Looks like not so, so Lilia does go for the recall. But that being said, there's still a lot of presence. Both teams know that the Otacon's available. Keeping people up top.
He's going to go for a little bit of a trade here. That is not a trade you want at all. That's a 2-item Yone with feats, and you're an item and a half with Merc Treads. Don't think that's kind of what you want to take there. Takes the losing end of that, going to be forced to reset. Napcon showing his dominance once again. He has shown up in all of these games.
Yeah, Napcon has consistently been a threat. He dominated early, and for most of the first game, they did not lose through that lane. He came up massive and was one of the big bright spots when they were struggling game 2. And he is pretty dominant in lane, 3-0 and 2.
There. He's gonna go to pull the trigger on the sweeping lullaby. They're all clumped up here. A lot of damage coming out, but not enough follow-up from the rest of the team. Are going to be stealing away from the bomb. Both time going to be ripped into the backside, but Lord Beach finding the flank on the Comet. Going to be able to slam his sword down right into the dirt there, as Barrett's going to be the next target. He's going to fall down here. Seeker has to run away as he gets sneaked by the pit. Double kill going over to Lord Beach there. As Stratty going to be the last one. Fancy footwork isn't going to be enough. Napquan just there in time to find that his laner picked up 3 kills. And that's going to be Atacon going over to Syndicate once again. It's going to be flipped over to what the game state was 3 games in a row, and none of these games are disappointing without close they were.
Absolutely not. I mean, it can't be much closer than that top side and how, that big lead that I was just talking about. Pretty much gone as 3 kills are picked up by the Aatrox. Like you said, that is going to be Otacon going their way. They're still down when it comes to turrets as well as in terms of Drake stacking. But overall, that's a really good means of coming back. They've also completely brought back the gold lead. It's not crazy, but they brought it back to just a couple hundred in their favor when it was at one point a 2,500. So it is now a near neutral game state here. I think the biggest threat on the board right now is still the Yone. Yone was not able to be in that fight, so who knows what would happen with them in it. But that flank from Lord Beach, immediately being able to pull the attention and completely remove the MF from the board is a massive difference maker, and they've done it so well. They've done it 2 or 3 times now where they just target this MF because they know the bullet time in that heavy CC is their plan, and if they shut it down, they can't do much about it.
They're taking a lot of damage or me. Oh no, you may have just picked up a triple kill, but this man is still very much a Yone here, as he has the items he needs to beat you around. If you can't land those abilities, it doesn't matter. Yone is a slippery champion. Gonna pick that up. 1v2. Can Napquan do it? He's gonna run right into 2. He's gonna go right into Knighton. Knighton does not have his Q right now. Already used it. Is gonna be false life there, as he's gonna have to 1v1 right into the pit. Is gonna try to use his Fate Seal, but it's not gonna be able to find its target. Showboat is gonna be proc, but here comes the rolled ender. It's gonna be the flash Q coming up from Lord Beach. Is gonna be able to pick that up. Get the shutdown over to the pit there, as the rest of Summit gonna be able to pick up a tier 2 top tower into the top side. But I mean, 1v2 for Napquan. I mean, unfortunately he falls, he gets over the shutdown, and that's definitely worse for Syndicate considering they had false life. But the Baron not going to be started up from Summit. This is very bold.
Yeah, this is a very interesting play. I don't know if the enemy team would.
They know it's done.
They got it. Yeah, they got it, so they can interrupt it. No, Napquan is very dangerous.
No team from Lord Beach. They're actually going to back off from this, though. I actually think they could have rushed that down, but they didn't feel comfortable enough to do it. That was like 2.5k Baron right there.
Yeah, and in turn, that is going to lead them to make their way to Drake. They're going to do it again. Is this just going to be a Drake for a Baron? Okay, I mean, that's fair. They have no they have no Drakes right now. So the Drake stacking is not really going to be in effect for Syndicate yet, but this Baron buff could be massive. I think if I'm Summit, that is a favorable trade for.
Yeah, you're loving that trade.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially as I do think Napquan was up to receive it, so Napquan has that buff as well now. So that is huge for them. But every comeback starts somewhere, and they've already brought it back to the level and gotten 1 Drake on so the Drake stacking can start for Syndicate. So it's not nothing, but definitely in favor of Summit still.
Yeah, also the IE getting close to being completed for Napquan as well. He's already half a level 217. He is super accelerated right now into the XP department. 2 levels behind a movie nerd against Stratty, which is definitely not something he wants to be in. About 2.5 items for him, while 3 items for
Lord Beach.
Beach will be able to find out. You're just going to be rooted up, shut down, going over to Barito as Boogie. I don't think that's the engage you want to find, and he's going to be forced to flash away from the Braum ultimate. I mean, Beach, he was looking what he's been looking for in these fights, and he just got found out.
Yeah, and you are going to see the seeds start coming through. Everyone is there to try to repel it, but there's so much pressure from this Baron buff and from the range, especially from his rise. They're constantly going to be able to siege in on here. They do repel it for at least the time being. Not a lot of damage taken by either team. Napquan is on the bottom lane. It's going to start splitting attention as they are going to
Take
secure
this
this
tower.
tower. Yeah.
He's got about 5 seconds left, so he'll have to answer Napcon, but Napcon very strong right now. Definitely cannot underestimate him. Even in a 1v2, he'll probably win at this point, especially if he plays it correctly, which he has been playing correctly for this game. So, just wow. I mean, it's a ping pong effect, right? It's like Summit was hardcore winning, and then like Syndicate brought it back, and then now Summit's back in the driver's seat. It's really a big ping pong effect of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Both teams want to find it. Right now, Summit do have the advantage, 3k gold lead. Though I do believe the Baron buff is going to be wearing off here shortly. So probably not as much gain as they probably would have liked it to be. But again, Napquan is really the key factor here, even despite the fact that the laner has caught up with them in terms of gold, or at least had. They're still the massive threat. They need to find a way of shutting them down. They've done so well at keeping the MF off the board during these fights, but you cannot ignore this Yone. The Yone is the elephant in the room. Right now, no major objectives up, so both teams are going to try to see if they can pick and find maybe small skirmishes or try to find some advantages. For the last little bit of this Baron buff, it looks like they're going to try to push this wave in on bot lane.
Just now fell off here. Yeah. They have mid lane being pushed quite strategy here. It's going to be hard to siege without that buff. Dragon is coming up at about a minute 42-45 for Baron. So definitely not going to be able to trade the objectives this time. So I expect Summit to try to get this Drake.
Yeah.
Pick it up for themselves, as everyone's on Syndicate just prowling around onto the spot side of the map. I mean, they just have to buy time and try to get items onto Ripped here. He's not nearly as accelerated as he was in the previous 2 games, so he's a bit lacking behind in comparison to what the pace of the game is, for what we're used to between these 2 teams. It's not like Comet is overly ahead either. They're about even. It's just for Kog'Maw, for him to do what he needs to do, he definitely needs to try to get his economy up, buy some time, and that's exactly what Syndicate's trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely so. It does look like both teams are still sticking around this Drake. They want to play for it, just a matter of who can keep the advantage. Do a little bit of a reset there. I do want to point out this Rise as well, very quietly, has been kind of dominating the lane, almost 3k gold lead over their lane opponent in Silas. So massive for them. They are going to secure that red buff for this next fight, and it looks like they're doing the death bush tactic, trying to see if they can catch someone off guard.
Napquan just gonna tank that scroll seed. The pit gonna know not to it's to solo ult that one. He actually is close to 16. He just needs one more camp, one more minion, one more anything. That'll be a pretty big spike for him to get level 3 onto his ultimate there. Baratul actually pretty much an entire level behind. Doesn't surprise me considering how the early game went and how much more pressure the pit had in his clear. But with this Drake up, Baron is now up in 58. I expect Syndicate to try to get something in, as Wood Beach might be the target. Going to be able to dash right outside of that one, as Napcon going to be looking for something on tonight in that single Q. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of damage. They're going to be able to quite pick that up, as Beach is going to be the next target here. Secret is going to be knocked up, and that's not something you want to start things up. Double hit, Soul Seed into the backline. Are they going to be able to pull the trigger? No. The pit is going to decide against that. World Ender is now down for Beach, as nothing was really used for Summit, so Syndicate gonna feel a little bit of pressure there, as Bearthor's gonna go link in a triple ult there, as Boogie Nerd is by himself. The fluctuation comment really well done by him, as this is gonna be completely split up, as Fate Sealed is gonna seal the fate of Rift to the max. He's gonna be forced to flash. Doesn't matter. Double kill going over to Napcon here, striding into the backside, as Word Beach tries the one before. Not gonna be enough. Triple kill going over to Napcon, as very beautifully played by Summit there, being able to split up the fight with Baratul, keeping the rest of Syndicate away from the engage from Boogie Nerd.
Are they going for an end play here? No. Okay, they're just putting mid prio. Okay, that's fair. They are gonna get mid prio. Looks like the Yone is gonna be the sole member left to go secure that Drake. Will be able to do so easily. It's a 5k gold lead now after a massive win. And man, That was just very well played by Summit. Notably, there they were able to keep Comet alive. Comet with the well top flash kept themselves in the fight long enough that they were able just to secure it. And that's really the first fight that we've seen where both the Yone and the MF were able to survive that long. And we saw how well it went for Summit. So if they can keep this up, they can keep this momentum. They're looking for win cons, which I think is the first time we've really seen that, or at least when they were in the lead. They obviously won last game, but they were in a massive comeback spot. So the fact that they're still in the lead, they've kind of been holding on to the lead. This is the first time we've really seen them have to try to close out a game from this position.
Yeah, and it looks like they're doing a pretty good job on their team fighting there, as we do see them pick up the soul as well, right? The Chemtech soul being picked up for Summit, which just not the best soul. It's definitely what many people consider the worst, if not the second worst, right next to Cloud. But even people prefer the Cloud movement speed. But it's still just a little extra hindrance, as hopefully we don't get spec client diffed here, as I see everything is just kind of frozen on our screen.
Yeah,
there we go.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Woo! A little bit. Hey, I'm not gonna say it. Never mind. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna jinx it.
Yeah, don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
But yeah, overall, very good. You know, like you said, they did secure that Drake Soul, which is not amazing, but if anything else, it denies another means of a way back from Syndicate. So rather have it than not in this situation, which is perfect because they are trying to close out, try to restrict any means. They had already witnessed a comeback and they were the perpetrators of it. They would not want to see a similar thing happen to themselves. No deja vu for them.
Yeah, they're not looking to repeat that at all. But Baron is now going to be the next objective. Nothing else really on the map for any team to be looking towards. Napquan finished up the Wits End, is at his 4th item. Getting pretty close to just finishing out and getting full build here, as 3 items onto Comet, 3 items onto Ripped here. Does have the Chain Vest. Void Staff almost picked up, being pretty close to Stratty, so a lot of these spikes are coming through for Summit, as Syndicate has to be a little bit careful. That was just a single Q, and that was even with the Secret Arm Guard. As Void Beats have to be careful, we're taking a lot of damage. Below half HP is going to have to force to burn the ultimate there, as thankfully doesn't have to flash. He does have TP here, so he can just back and come back immediately, but that was definitely not what you want to see. If Summit wants to just start this up, they know Beach does not have his ultimate. That's a pretty big team fight ability. I mean, just how fast that thing.
Oh, jeez. I mean, yeah, taking a look at the rise onto the secret weapon here was not doing a lot of damage in the fight just a mere like 10 minutes ago, but now, you know, Seraphs, Rod of Ages, Rabadons, I believe they're well halfway through. Void Staff as well. I think that's what they're building into. That is a lot of damage onto this Rise, who's just been melting anyone who dares to step in their way, especially now with the Baron buff on hand, the Chemtech Soul. They do also have the blue buff, which is going to help them out. This is going to be a really dangerous spot for Syndicate. They need to find a way to pull it.
He's doing quite a bit of damage. Napcon trying to respond in time. I find it interesting that Summit kind of abandoned mid. So they're trying to siege 5 on top lane. Definitely going to be a lot harder than running at least a 4-1. Barefoot going to get hit by that Skull Seed. Taking one by not being used. Not the thing you want to start things off, bro. Cozy Campfire used out, so that's a cooldown used for about another 10 seconds. Stealing away Amumu's ultimate. Ruby Nerd now well within playmaking ability right here.
Oh. Very interesting that the siege kind of ended. It seems like almost a little bit of indecision here from Summit. Half are leaning towards mid, half are leaning top. Didn't really get anything from that last siege attempt. Or Beach is gonna get out of the way.
This spook there, gonna use the World Ender. Hit 2, not quite having the members to follow up there. I mean, yeah, they just need to run a 4-1. Like, they need to siege at least 2 at once if they want any type of both and have to try their best to at least sink the waves. I know that's a concept that's a little bit harder for most people to try to do between mid and top. But that is really the only way they're going to be able to try to break open. Unless they just want to kind of full-on send it, which they don't want to full-on send it into a Silas that has a Numenor and a Lilia, as well as a Comrade.
Oh no.
Be very careful. He's going to be forced to burn the barrier. Is going to respond in time with a lot of damage onto Napcon. Napcon does have the Bork, so he does have the lifesteal. Also TP as well, so he can back into TP right back into the fight. Same with Stratty. Stratty be able to finish that Void Staff, so he hit a huge spike here. As Napcon gonna, there he goes, go ahead and use the TP there. They're looking to see if they can't finally break through this mid tower, or this top tower. A lot of damage coming out from that Baron Duff cannon here. As it looks like Syndicate are getting close to just have to abandoning this tower.
Yeah, absolutely. We're also reaching the point where all the major carries, Comet the only one out of it, is reaching level 18 for Summit. Meanwhile, a little bit of a lagging behind from Syndicate. Elder is up for them, and they are going to take that tier 3 turret and going to be able to take us in the head.
Inhibitor down, tier 3 down. They really don't have to go for much more if they just sort of back off and go for the Elder. They do no longer have the Baron buff, so they really can't siege that much anymore. See them walking towards the bot side, definitely setting up for that Elder Drake. Hopefully, you know, they can end the game after that. Summit just feeling very hungry for their first win, but they don't want to mess it up. And Knight's gonna be really careful. He's gonna face check right into Caddy there. He's gonna be forced to flash. That's a lot of damage as the pick is being targeted. He has the flash, but flash bandage shots with the Comp Cruiser being able to pick up that kill. The unbreakable shield from Seek, make sure Grip cannot do anything. It's a 5v4. They're looking for possibly another angle. Bears are going to be able to hit it right into Knight, and he doesn't have the flash anymore. The roll to ender going to be used, but it's just going to signal the ending of the road of Syndicate for this game. As there goes the art from Boogie Nerd, it's not going to matter. The Fate Shield is going to seal the Fate from Boogie as well. He's going to go Stasis. He's golden, but this is not a golden opportunity for Syndicate whatsoever. Fox coming out from Comet to pick up that kill. Ripped out of mana. He's going to try to pick up Stratty, and he might be able to, not quite, double kill going over Comet, as that is going to be an ace. Stratty, you have to watch out, is going to fall down to the explosion from Rip to the max. Gonna be able to get a consolation prize, but it's not going to matter. Summit finally gonna be able to pick up their first win off a 3-game series, and a ping pong of a 3-game series that is. As what an amazing game from them and Syndicate.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say that you were bored during any of those games. Massive. I mean, a very close game number 1, followed by a really incredible comeback from Summit in game 2 that sent it to a game 3, and they held on control for majority of that game, but Syndicate were always there. They were just one team fight away from securing, either bringing it back level or taking the advantage, much like Summit did just one map previously. But in the end, it comes down to one poor positioning. 19 goes. They know that they're heading towards Elder. They try to see what's going on. They almost face check a bush, excuse me. They run into 4. They barely get away, but the pit is there, does what they can to save the support, and it costs them their life. The jungle's down. They don't even go for the Elder. They just run them down one by one to secure it. Massive win for Summit Esports. This team, specifically Berto, in their interview, specifically said that the biggest issue was the fact that they needed to learn how to gel. They needed to start coming together as a team because they'd not played with each other. Week 3, it came together. Syndicate was one of the best. They were ranked, I think, number 2 in the power rankings in week 1 and 2. They fell off a little bit. They're ranked number 4 right now. But man, Summit, that's a massive upset for them. It's a massive win. Huge bounce back for them.
Yeah. And it's how the game is played out too. It's like there was no clear favorite, right? Like who was gonna win. Like it looked like Summit was gonna win the first game. Nope. Syndicate ended up coming back, and then it looked like Syndicate was gonna win the next game, and then nope, Summit ended up coming back. And just wow. I mean, it was a big ping pong. Even in this game, it looked like, Summit was in favor, and then it looked like Syndicate was coming back, then back to Summit, and then back to Syndicate, and then finally Summit was able to bring up the win in the end. I mean, it was competitive all throughout in all three games. It wasn't a moment where it's like, I expect this, any of these teams to just outright win or lose based off game state. Like, it was so explosive, it was so
Oh yeah.
volatile, and that, it makes that for good League of Legends, right? You just didn't know which team was going to be able to come out on top just based on how these teams played for these three games.
Yeah, absolutely. And a massive shout out. I got to give it to Napquan. I mean, they were consistently the best player on their team. They were always doing well. I mean, there was always big moments from Baritol doing well. There was big moments from Comet, the fill-in who did amazingly and had some big moments, especially in game number 3. I mean, the strategy time on the Rise was crazy, but in every single one of those games, Napquan dominated in game number 1. Unfortunately, they weren't able to close it out. Did really well, held his lane when the rest of his team was struggling in game number 2, and was one of the main reasons why they were able to bring it back and win in game number 2. And he just had full range. He had full control of the Rift the entirety of game 3. He was a thorn in their, not even a thorn. He was a small tree growing in their side. They could not
Yeah.
deal with that Yone. And because of that constant pressure that he had throughout all 3 games, I honestly, without Napquan, I don't know if they win that game. Massive performance for all of them, but Napquan, gotta tip your hat to him. Insanely good performance from him tonight.
Yeah, showed up in all of his games. He was the main, like, I would say, reason why there was even a chance for them to come back in times where it felt like, even when it was like, oh, I might be a little bit behind, but like, he was still being consistent. He was still able to find things that he needed to find. He wasn't giving up full on prio as much, even when he was a little bit behind. So yeah, I mean, big props to him. And according to what I'm seeing in Twitch chat right now, apparently every undefeated team lost tonight. Now that's interesting. So
Oh,
standings are gonna
shaken
be.
up. Nope,
Hey,
there we go. Don't worry.
now we're back.
There you go. But yeah, no, you're right. If that's really the case, the standings, the placements, the power ranking are going to go crazy. And honestly, we should expect this. We talked about it, how early on the wins they matter because they're wins, but the teams are new. I mean, week 1 they only had 4 days, but by week 2 they only had 11. We are now getting to the point where these teams have time to mesh. Teams like Summit, the teams that said like, hey, we just need time, they've gotten it, and they are pulling off these massive upsets. So this is the time, week 3, week 4, week 5, this is going to be when we really see the cream rise to the top, the teams that not just have really good players but have really good teamwork as well, and they're going to start exploding.
I cannot wait for that. It's definitely gonna show up real big here in these next few weeks. But ladies and gentlemen, that'll be all that we wrote for tonight. A 2-1 Summit Esports, the Syndicate, finally picking up their first win after week 3 in a banger 3-game series. Keep in mind that the LFA is running every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Like Soren says, only time that matters. And I truly agree into that. Next week, we're going to have Final Boss Esports versus High Alert in a hopefully a game I think might actually be pretty interesting considering a little bit of the trades that have going on. But I mean, that's all that I got for tonight, Soren. If you have anything else to send off.
I mean, I do it every week, but massive shout out to everyone involved together. Massive shout out to you, Sheep, for being the
Yep.
play-by-play, for our
Thank you.
producer, Rain, for the entirety of the staff over at Legends, for organizing the tournament, for all the players putting on a quite little banger of a series, and thank you for watching, of course. So we can't do this without you guys. So massive shout out to everyone, and thank you to everyone who watches and puts this on.
Yep. Make it a joy.
closer, but with the deepest red. Oh, beneath them we look on. When they part comes the hatred they bring. Lost in the dark, we've come so far. Another step to rid the pain. Go and be counted till your last day. 'Cause only nightmares break their face. So stand upon these fallen lands and follow in our Father's plans. Yeah, until the end we will remain, and we'll hold on until our last breath. So what is to be left for us? My people look on and say, don't fear what you don't know, 'cause we're far from certain fate.